I stopped watching Vash to watch Lucy. Thank you. Thank you. We're both Polish, sort of. Vash is half Polish and I'm 100% Polish. You know? Okay, listen to this. Have you ever heard of Tucker Carlson? Have you heard of this niche figure, Tucker Carlson? Thank you very much, Metroplex. Actually, I've actually talked about Transformers a lot today. You know, if you watch me a lot, you know that I go to a lot of tangents. Today on the President Sunday Discord, we've been talking about Transformers a lot. G1 Transformers in particular. The movie, the characters. We of course mentioned how horrible... Okay, before we move on, I have to show you something. Before we move on to the next Dylan thing, I have to show you a short. Okay, I have to show you a short. A great short. Okay, I'm not sure if this short is safe to show, actually. I should talk about it more in Gigglecord. Okay, I will risk it, okay? I will risk it. I will risk showing the video just for you. Though I'm scared. I'm scared if this is not gonna kill the stream or something. Okay, we're gonna risk it. Whatever. We're gonna risk it. Although I'm scared now. The movie in the 80s was great. Impact to many people's lives. The Transformers one, I know. Is it safe for me to watch this parody video? Okay, I'm just gonna show it off. I'm just not gonna show the visuals, okay? Like, I'm gonna not show the visuals in order to sort of not risk, okay? So it's mainly Optimus Prime talking about the Bayformers. So we're just gonna listen to it for the sake of the stream not being... it actually had the famous Orson Welles as the planet. Okay, listen to this. Listen to this.
Optimus, tell me about Michael Bay.
In 2007, Michael Bay released the first of 5 live-action Transformers movies. You thought your dad was whiny in the cartoon. He was arguably worse in the Bayformer movies, and he gets most of the screen time because CGI effects are expensive. I was in the Bayformer movies, but I am super violent. I say I'll kill you at least 10 times. I tear Decepticon faces in half. I blow holes in the heads of helpless Decepticons. I kill Megatron even though he saved my life. I lied to your dad about leaving Earth and come right back. Psych. I threaten to kill Grimlock unless he lets me ride him like a horse.
I threaten to kill Grimlock unless he lets me ride him like a horse.
The movies will make billions of dollars despite ignoring the blueprint of our beloved characters. Weakening Transformers so that they can be killed by humans. Transformer character designs that look like piles of scrap metal. No offense to the designers. And worst of all, having me, Optimus Prime, kill humans. During the first 3 movies, you couldn't complain about Bayformers. Fan mobs would say you were stuck in the past and call you the G1 boomer. G1 fans had to keep quiet and retreat to their moms' basements. We waited, wringing our hands for the precise moment to strike. Then finally, the 4th and 5th movies were bargain bin straight-to-video disasters, and the G1 fans came out in full force. We gave Michael Bay the toxic fandom touch of death. That felt good. You know, they killed me again in the 2nd movie, but I wish they kept me dead.
Oh no, Optimus, I kinda like Bayform.
Stop waking me up, kid.
They received the toxic fandom touch of death, which felt good. We gave them the toxic fandom touch of death, which felt good. Okay, let's get to the real video that we're we got a bit distracted, but that's basically what I'm all about, right? I'm all about the distractions. You understand, right? That's why you love watching me. So we have established that Dylan is awesome. We have established that Dylan is amazing. And now we're gonna watch a recent Dylan video titled Tucker Carlson's new Ukraine episode is god awful, because apparently Tucker Carlson claims that Ukraine is a dictatorship. Also, Karas, you have not missed the talk with the expert. The expert will be on a bit later. So you have not missed any part of the expert discussion. So yes, we're gonna watch Dylan react to Tucker Carlson calling Ukraine a dictatorship. Also, I have to do some promotion before we continue. I have to send this out to all the Discords. I'm basically 50. I'm basically 100. I am extremely old. I'm older than anyone. I'm so old that I'm even older than people that are older than me. I have broken time and space, and and became the oldest being in the universe just by the merit of being me. No matter how old you are, you're not as old as me. Basically. So this is it. I am doing a little bit of thing here. And I'm going to also do it on the giggle card. Alright, let's go. You're back. You're just in time. I bet you watch new episodes of Hooked on a Can. Of course. I've watched every old series in the world.
God, I really don't want to watch this, but I put it in the title. We gotta.
True.
I have to do it. Okay.
You have to deliver. You've got to deliver.
Is still doing his show on Twitter after getting booted from Fox News, even though Fox has sent him a cease and desist. And honestly, I have to thank Fox, not because it sent him a cease and desist, and I'm aligning with Fox on a level of, oh, I want Fox to stop their competition, but on a level of, even if this wasn't the point, they are trying to save America from brain tumor development, as we have such a poor healthcare system. And the more people watch these Tucker Carlson Tonight segments on Twitter, the more it's exposed to, the more people in this country are going to need intrusive medical care to deal with the damage that it does. And so Tucker Carlson has decided that he wants to give a whole
unironically
brain tumors by releasing another segment on Ukraine. Now, all of Tucker's segments
on Ukraine are bad.
Frankly, have been garbage.
Garbage, yes.
During Fox,
true. We've said it in unison. They were all garbage, yes. Irredeemable garbage. I don't even know what else to call it. But, I'm gonna be honest, a lot of coverage of Ukraine is garbage. Which is why we are so thankful for Dylan Burns.
When he was saying that for every Russian soldier that dies, 7 Ukrainian soldiers die. Complete nonsense.
So, oh my God.
That he just regurgitated on his show, Russian propaganda, that he never corrected. And in fact, when he had somebody else come on, RFK, Robert Kennedy
Pathetic.
Jr. comes on his show, repeats the same thing, also doesn't correct them. Fox News doesn't care. But then he gets off of Fox News, gets kicked out of Fox News, and it's only gotten worse.
Yep.
With these Ukraine segments getting worse and worse.
And worse.
And so now he's released another Ukraine segment, and I haven't watched any of it. Actually, I think I've watched the first.
I didn't know it existed.
But I haven't watched
even.
any more than the first 30 seconds. And I wanted to go into this completely.
Like, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know it existed. I only know it exists because Dylan told me by making this video. Like, I don't, like, is it bad that I don't really keep up with the Tucker Carlson thing? Is it bad of me? Should I keep tabs?
Unaware with what he's going to say. With the knowledge of his historical statements on Ukraine and what he said in the past,
It's gonna be bad.
Encouraged by the fact that he continues to talk about it, but I'm excited, excited to watch this one. That's a lot.
Why?
Not excited.
Why
This will
this?
be painful, but
Okay.
it's what you guys want me to do, so I'm going to do it. Episode 7, irony alert: the war for democracy enables dictatorship. Okay.
What? Oh, I get it now. I understand perfectly now what's happening. It's gonna be about the vote thing. It's so pathetic. Oh my god. Oh yeah. It's gonna say that they are suspending democracy because the vote was postponed. Oh, okay. I get it. Wow. Big brain. Big brain Tucker.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. You may have found yourself
Like, it's so predictable what this is going to be about. It's so painfully predictable.
wondering recently, as the world slides closer to nuclear annihilation than any time in human history, why exactly are we at war with Russia?
By the way,
We? Who are we? Is Tucker Ukrainian now? I never knew that Tucker was from Ukraine and that he was Ukrainian. That's news to me. Wow. So I guess Tucker is just at war with Russia together with, you know, all the other Ukrainian people. Okay, wow. I was not aware. Quite frankly. Apologies, I have to go through this. Because I died here before. I'd rather not die here again. We're okay for now.
nuclear missile crisis had us much closer to nuclear annihilation. We had people like
I don't even think we're close. Like, come on. People keep saying we're close, but I don't really even think we are. I don't think it's even in the same realm as the Cuban Missile Crisis thing. I don't think so. What do you think? Do you think it's even close? I don't think it's even remotely close, to be honest. At least at the moment. You know? Just because there's a war with a nuclear power doesn't mean that the situation is even close to being like the Cuban crisis.
what was his name? Oh my god, he smoked the cigars, he organized the American firebombing of Japan, was also heavily involved in the American
Damn.
the Curtis LeMay. We had Curtis LeMay in the ear of the President of the United States telling him, bomb him, go into
Wydaje się zamknięte, which means it seems to be locked.
Cuba, just kill them all. Even
Jesus.
when Kennedy de-escalated the situation and brought it to a close, and he was rewarding everyone and was thanking them and was giving them like the little like fake calendars with the 13 days, like, look, I'm gonna give you all like little gift bags to thank you for your time here. Curtis LeMay was still yelling at him like, they've beaten us by us not invading Cuba and getting them out of there. We were much closer at that period. And
Yep.
I don't want to underplay how crazy it was that Curtis LeMay used to be in such a high position of authority, not only in the U.S. Air Force, but also when it came to strategic command and the actual use of nuclear weapons, and how he was launching spy planes into the Soviet Union, like clearly violating their airspace, and what many historians say was a deliberate provocations that the Soviets didn't respond to and that they're happy that the Soviets did respond to. But I just want to make it clear that there's nobody like that in the White House today. That's like talking to Joe Biden saying,
We're not even close. I'm sorry.
just go to just bomb Moscow, bomb them. We don't have any advisors in Joe Biden's circle saying that. The closest you can get is Lindsey Graham going on The View saying that if the Russians do a nuclear attack in Ukraine, they'll consider it an attack on a NATO country because of the radiation spillover and how it can affect nation states like Poland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Romania.
Interesting.
That's the closest you can get.
That's actually
It's not
interesting.
anywhere near him directly just saying, bomb them now, bomb 'em. Just want to give a little bit of a historical, perspective here.
It is needed
There's a pretty
desperately.
significant
for
downside
sure.
to this particular foreign policy decision, starting with economic collapse and ending potentially with extinction.
The idea that America's economic woes are primarily caused by sanctions that we've placed on the Russian Federation
It's
are
laughable.
just silly. Not
Just laughable.
even a country that we got a majority of our energy exports from. We produce a lot of energy ourselves. It contributed somewhat, but it's definitely not the lion's share. The lion's share of the economic woes that we're dealing with. Like I would, if this was like an audience, if this was for maybe, I don't know, like a Moldovan audience, maybe you'd have more of an argument, but this is for an American audience.
So is there a good reason we're doing it? So many innocent young people have been killed. So many hundreds of billions of dollars have been wasted, some of them from the U.S. Treasury. So what's the point?
This is the thing that gets me. Hundreds of billions of dollars have been wasted. I don't even know what he's
Wasted.
referring to. When they say
I don't know.
hundreds of billions of dollars, I'm thinking about U.S. aid. Now, currently, I think U.S. military aid to Ukraine sits roughly around $50 billion. Roughly. And that's if we're counting everything and we're being as giving the littlest amount of scrutiny. Like we're counting the aid that hasn't arrived. We're counting some of the replacements, which isn't really fair because if it's not being sent to Ukraine, how can we possibly count it as U.S. aid?
True.
Then you include the humanitarian aid, right? So I would say that humanitarian aid for Ukraine has not been wasted. It's been used to help people from, dying.
Of course, yeah.
And when we talk about, air defense and stuff like that, that has also helped people from not dying. But the aid which has helped Ukraine liberate tons and tons and tons of territory, whether it be around Kharkiv, whether it be the city of Kherson, from occupation, that's not wasted aid. That was weapons used in the liberation of Ukrainian territory.
Well,
Used to
Tucker
restore democratic rule, which I know we're going
Tucker Carlson doesn't care. So to him it is wasted because it's America first. Even if it aids anybody, it's wasted aid because it's not for the US or whatever. This is the type of narrow-minded, short-sighted idiot that you deal with. You know?
to get into democracy in Ukraine in a moment. Democratic rule to these areas. To restore Ukrainian national sovereignty to these areas. Which, in these areas that were liberated, we'd uncovered horrific atrocities, including the largest mass grave discovered in Europe since the Yugoslav genocides in Izium, over 440 bodies in a mass grave. And that's just one location. There's mass graves like that all over the country. That was just a particularly brutal, singular example of it in Izium. So you could say, oh, we wasted all that money. Wasted it how? Was the liberation of that territory around Kharkiv not a success? Was the liberation of Kherson not a success? Is shooting down missiles that could strike children's hospitals not a success?
Well, he doesn't care.
What does he mean by that? Number one, the numbers that he gives, bullshit, and wasted. I don't know how he defines wasted, but I don't think it was wasted.
Well, he defines it sending money at all.
Family can repay its debts to the oligarchs who finance their beach house in Rehoboth?
Like, yes. He defines wasted as any type of help to Ukraine is a waste. That's how he defines it.
I don't know, man. This is the problem with Tucker Carlson, and this is the main reason why I despise watching him, is when he says something like this. What am I even supposed to say?
Good question.
No evidence that any conversations about beach homes in Rehoboth ever came up in conversations with the Zelensky administration. We have no documents that proves that the aid sent over to Ukraine, which has been congressionally approved, by the way. So not only did you get the Biden administration to sign on to the scheme to pay back these homes in Rehoboth, but you've gotten all of Congress, including
Yes.
Republicans, outside of maybe like Matt Gaetz and a few.
Because the main thing that people think during this invasion is their villas. Yes, of course. How could I forget about the villas? How could I have forgotten about the villas? Of course.
Others signing on to this as well. You've gotten the majority of the American public. You've gotten basically the majority of European nation states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania as well, all signing on to because they all care about Joe Biden's beach home in Rehoboth. It's just nonsense. It's just vague speculation. And that's I think like half of Tucker Carlson segments. It's just vague speculation. It's like, here's an interesting fact. What do we think about that? And he doesn't directly say this is what's the case, or he'll just speculate, isn't that interesting? And just kind of leave it up to interpretation.
True.
We're doing it so our government
Until just straight up lie.
illicit biolabs in Eastern Europe.
Again, this is just nonsense. Not only
Biolabs in
providing
Poland.
evidence here of biolabs in Eastern Europe that we're supposedly lying about,
True.
but this is like just direct Russian
You
propaganda.
might have not known, but I actually ran a biolab at home.
And this is like propaganda that us as Americans should not especially be falling for. We are especially stupid for falling for this, if you believe this. We were told that we were invading Iraq to stop these weapons of mass destructions from being made and then being used against other states. And Dick Cheney said he didn't want the warning sign.
You know, the biolabs are super real. I own one. I own a Eastern European biolab. So actually, yeah, this is, completely true. Speaking of Poland, do you ever do streams in Polish? I have not done any streams in Polish to date, no. I only stream in English to my beloved English audience, which is huge. Also join the page. But no. If you want, I can make a segment in Polish, but people will just leave, I think.
Or he didn't want the evidence to end up being a mushroom cloud and trying to make people think that Iraq had a nuclear arsenal that they could use against the United States, and if they didn't act, the next 9/11 will be a mushroom cloud in New York City. It'll be a nuclear...
I meant English-speaking audiences, not English people. I died!
bomb going off.
I meant English-speaking... Oh my god.
Nothing. I think we found some chemical weapons, but we didn't find anything close to what Dick Cheney was insinuating was in Iraq. And explicitly stating on multiple occasions, the Bush administration was stating was in Iraq. No weapons of mass destruction. Now,
I was a lie.
later, by the way, Tucker Carlson supported the Iraq invasion. I do want to put that out there. And he supported it when it counted, before it happened. Then after it happened, he pulled his support. Now, 20 years later, Russia invades Ukraine, claiming
What do you know?
Ukraine is designing weapons of...
Gotcha, I avoid Polish politics myself. As bad as it sounds, I prefer escapism of other politics from around the world. Well, I might mention Polish politics, but I'm gonna do it in English,
mass
probably.
destruction, chemical weapons.
Like, to make the English speakers aware of what's going on. And this is one of the things that I might do as actual real-life action to do stuff.
To target Russians.
We'll see.
To target their DNA and kill them.
Jesus Christ, I remember that.
Well, not really anything. They don't really provide any physical evidence, and a year and a half to almost
Russian DNA. What is this, Metal Gear?
to show these grand...
What is this, Metal Gear Solid? DNA targeting viruses? Specifically Russian DNA.
weapons that were created by the Ukrainians, even though they've occupied a decent portion of the country. But we still have Tucker Carlson, a year and a half into the war, repeating this nonsense.
True.
Even if he doesn't go into the specifics, he'll just kind of like dabble in it, dip his toes a little bit, and then he'll move on to the next topic, not really addressing any of the specifics. Because if you get bogged down in the specifics of whether these chemical weapons are real, whether these biological weapons are real that he's talking about, these weapons of mass destruction are real, he just kind of be like, isn't that something? Biological facilities, and then moves on. As if there are tons of biological facilities all around the world doing research on tons of different things that could be a million different things.
Like the one in my home.
Outside of weapons of mass destruction. We have biological facilities in Canada. We have biological facilities in Mexico, in Germany, in France, in Denmark, in places all around the world. And the Russians have yet to provide any concrete proof.
My toilet is just a biological facility. True. Technically speaking, a kitchen is also a biological facility. If we're gonna be technical about it. Don't just sit here. Do something.
Used to develop weapons, but Tucker Carlson, the journalist with just the most integrity, doesn't need that evidence to just suggest it on his program. Definitely now that there's no Fox censor to tell him, I don't know, should we lie 10 times today? Can we just lie 8 times today?
10 times is okay.
Started, man. We're not even a minute in.
Oh my God. That's actually true.
Tony Blinken can feel like they're doing something important with their sad lives. Really? Honestly, there's got to be a better reason for waging this, the most pointless war of all.
The most pointless war of all.
What does that... What? This is insulting, actually. This is actually extremely insulting.
From whose perspective? I think it's saying it like from our perspective.
From an idiot's perspective, of course. I mean, it is pointless in... Like... It is pointless in the sense that Russia should not have, like, invaded. Yeah, sure. It is pointless in the sense that many Ukrainian people suffered pointlessly because of Russia's, like, imperial ambitions. But I have a feeling that is not what Tucker Carlson means when he says that it is a pointless war.
That it is the most pointless war of all. It is pointless for the Ukrainians to retake their territory. It is pointless for the Ukrainians to not want to be dumped in mass graves. It is pointless for the Ukrainians to want to retain their sovereignty. It is pointless for Ukrainians to want to have their national identity and not have it tranced upon and denied and erased. It is pointless to fight back against the illegal deportation of Ukrainian children. All of it, it's just all pointless.
Let's just call it what it is. It's kidnapping of children. It's kidnapping, straight up. Right? I think it's just straight up kidnapping.
I wonder if you would have the same message of like, well, when you think about it, maybe Hawaii is historical Chinese.
I don't know, illegal deportation still has the ability to sort of, for the people to agree to be illegally deported, no?
And if the Chinese want to have it, you know, it would be kind of pointless to fight back. I just want to...
Ksenia Turkova did an interview about children being kidnapped, right? It is depressing, of course. All that Russia does is depressing. So it's really infuriating to see those shows. Yeah, they're being kidnapped.
I see.
As part of a bigger attempt at erasing Ukrainian national identity, of course.
How consistent he would have these narratives if, you know, the situation was flipped. And I'm just saying Hawaii. We would need to take about, what, 20 to 30% of American territory to get to the equivalent of what we're having with Russia happen right now in Ukraine. So what? California, Colorado, New Vegas, not New Vegas, not the video game, Nevada, all this territory just taken up. Would he say, oh, it would be pointless to try to take that back, especially if mass graves were popping up in occupied California? Get out of here.
What is it? Well, thankfully, we have an answer.
Well, we have an answer. Guys,
Okay.
Tucker Carlson has figured out geopolitics. He figured it out.
True.
Okay, he knows the true reason behind the war. The true, like, point, like, expressive thumbnail.
So what's the real reason for the war? Let's hear it. Is it because of Russian imperialism? Is it because of like Russian colonialism? What is it? What is it, Tucker Carlson? Tell us.
He's got it. Let's see.
The war against Russia, ladies and gentlemen, the war against
The war against Russia. Also, Russia has not even started the war. It's war against Russia. Okay, I see. It's war waged against Russia. Russia is not even waging this war. Okay, I get it. Okay. My bad. I thought it was actually Russia invading Ukraine, but I guess I was wrong. Maybe it's actually Ukraine invading Russia, you know?
War against Russia, not the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
True. True. We've been all misinformed.
The war against Russia. Okay.
True.
Putin and for Ukraine is in fact a war for democracy. Watch and recall the
Oh, God.
By the way, I don't like the simplification of, like, why we're supporting Ukraine. There's a million different reasons why the United States is supporting Ukraine. There's a million different reasons.
I don't really care the reason why the United States is supporting Ukraine, to be bluntly honest. I don't really care. I care that it does. Okay? That is all that I care about. It does. That's enough for me.
Ukrainians.
I don't really care for the why.
Democracy is one of those reasons, but so is sovereignty, so are the atrocities, so are the liberation of their territory and the reclamation of their home, as many of them have been placed for a very long time. I interviewed a Ukrainian recently, and no, I wasn't recently, it was like a few months ago, who has been displaced by Crimea, and they're fighting in the Ukrainian military so they can literally just get back their home that was taken from them in 2014.
Like, just picture that. Picture that, being driven from your home and having to fight in order to get it back. Picture that in your mind. As that's the reality for many people.
With everybody being forced to have Russian passports and everybody being denied their Ukrainian identity in occupied territory, as they're about to engage in a campaign of mass deportations of anybody who will not take a Russian passport, taking their property from them, stripping them of their property rights.
Right.
They have a good reason to fight. They have a lot of reasons to fight.
Of course.
The upholding of their democratically elected government against the Russian invasion is just one aspect, one reason of many reasons why Ukrainians are fighting.
Yeah.
We're focused on what we can do to
Like, that should not need explaining. That should not even need explaining. It's like feeling the need to explain why Poland defended itself in 1939. It's we are in a really bad state when we need to have a whole bit explaining why Ukraine has a right to defend itself.
to fight for their democracy.
Democracy must prevail. The Ukrainian people are fighting the fight for their democracy and
Yeah, of course.
for ours as well.
Assisting and helping Ukraine win this fight for democracy and freedom.
And of course, Ukrainian President Zelensky understands that what's at stake in Ukraine is bigger than just his nation. It is literally a battle for freedom and democracy themselves.
They are showing the world what an existential fight for democracy looks like.
President Zelensky and the Ukrainians have changed the...
What is he gonna say that it's a lie? Is Tucker Carlson, going to frame that as a lie?
of history
Calm now.
for the better. And we unequivocally are with the Ukrainian people in their fight to remain a sovereign democracy.
Unequivocally with the Ukrainian people to remain a democracy. It's a bipartisan view. Democracy must prevail. You just heard noted democracy expert Nancy Pelosi say, the daughter of the mobbed-up mayor of Baltimore.
What are you trying to say? What exactly are you even trying to say here? What? Ukraine is not a democracy now?
As Pelosi puts it, the Ukrainian people are fighting the fight for their democracy and for ours as well. That's right, for ours as well. Without Ukrainian democracy...
I mean, I don't know how much of it's for ours as well, but I mean,
That's a stretch.
there's a question about like encroaching like authoritarianism, but
Yeah.
it's mostly for Ukrainian democracy.
Yes.
Democracy, in other words, we can have no democracy.
And it also to show like the strength of democracy internationally. Like if the democratic countries, when democracies are threatened, just kind of say, it is what it is, doesn't show the democratic system to be that very, strong, palatable.
The fight for their
Oh, I'm sorry, War Metal Pacifist. Links don't really work on YouTube. So you would have to join the page and send it to me there.
democracy and for ours as well. That's right, for ours as well. Without Ukrainian democracy, in other words, we can have no democracy here. If the Ukrainian...
Nobody's... What?
Yeah, I don't think that's what's being said. I don't think so.
Nobody that he just listened to said that. Nobody said that if Ukraine loses, America will lose its democracy. But I mean, it is true that if Ukraine loses, America will look quite weak. The West will, what is called the West, will look quite weak. Democracy and liberal democracy.
That's a nice touch to say what we call the West. That's a nice touch by Dylan, I think.
Will look very weak and like it cannot defend itself. And I think it will embolden many authoritarians around the world. And in the countries that are in liberal democracies, you want to get rid of that liberal democracy.
Yeah.
But I don't think that necessarily means that American democracy itself will collapse. I don't believe in some type of like domino theory going on in Europe.
I don't think so.
Falls and everyone else.
I don't think so either, to be quite honest. But I'm not really sure if that's what they meant when they said it, so,
Falls necessarily. But it is also true that Russian goals don't stop with Ukraine. And
no, they don't.
That they believe that they have the right to do this exact same thing too. That the
True.
Russian government believes that they can do it too if they want to, or at least
All the countries that used to be in the Russian Empire, to be quite honest with you, that is basically the scope of Russian ambition.
right to.
Poland
Aren't
included.
free, neither are we. We must make sure they can vote in Kiev so we can continue to vote in Kansas City. It's really that simple.
I didn't know.
And yet tonight, we regret to tell you that we have a problem. It looks like they're not going to be able to vote in Kiev anymore. And no, for once, it's not Putin's fault.
Anymore. Wow. So there's no...
I knew it. I knew this was going to be the topic. It was so obvious. Also, no, it's not anymore. When voting gets moved, it does not mean that it gets, cancelled forever. So that's ridiculous.
In Ukraine, it's done.
That's
no more votes allowed.
ridiculous.
Voting is done in Ukraine.
That's
No more
ridiculous.
voting. No voting anymore. Okay, let's hear it.
That's
See the
ridiculous.
evidence.
Yeah.
Democracy in Ukraine seems to be suspended by the world's
Suspended? I thought it was no more. Okay.
True.
Now, I guess it's back. Okay, it's in a
It's
coma.
back. Yeah.
It's no longer gone. It was gone for a second. Now it's back. It's on coma.
I mean, the situation is very dynamic. It's a dynamic situation out there, Dylan. The democracy situation is dynamic. Disappears for one bit,
In a coma.
Yeah.
Got in a car accident or something.
most democracy advocate himself, Field Marshal Zelensky.
Field Marshal.
Watch this.
Will there be elections in Ukraine next year? This is a global question. If we win, there will be. So there will be no wartime martial law, no war. Elections should be held in peacetime, when there is no war, according to the law.
True. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to hear what Tucker Carlson's interpretation of this is,
Like-
and then I'll explain to you how martial law in Ukraine works, the Ukrainian constitution, and what it has been like since the nation was independent of the Soviet Union since 1991.
Like, Jesus Christ, to me this was so obvious.
If we win, we'll let people vote. Otherwise, no. You vote when we feel like it, because ultimately...
No, you idiot. No.
Your job is to obey or be punished. That's our version of
No, what?
What the where did that interpretation come from? That's
I don't know. From his ass.
You just put the words on screen, and then you just like completely twisted them, and there's something...
What an idiot, I swear. What a dishonest piece of shit. Like, I'm sorry. To me, it was perfectly obvious that you don't organize a vote during war. Like, of course. What a dishonest piece of shit. I swear to God. Oh, God. Can you believe this? Like, this isn't unbelievable.
So, for those of you who don't know,
I know. I do
we'll let him
know.
keep going, and then I'll.
Yeah, I'll let him go a bit.
He likes to go. I don't want to. Maybe he'll bring it up before I bring it up.
Self means me. I'm the government. Now, that's not just any autocrat. That's our chief ally in the war for democracy. This is the guy who just announced he's likely to cancel next year's elections. So you've got to wonder what the Biden administration thinks of this. We can't possibly continue to support Zelensky, that guy, after he said that, can we?
Are you an idiot? Like, this is what happens. This is what happens with those dishonest, slimy pundits that just lie and twist the truth. Like, Dylan will mention this, but it's just enshrined in the Constitution of Ukraine that during wartime, like when it's literally impossible to hold a normal, like, voting session. Like, it's impossible to organize a vote. Like, so many people are abroad right now. So many people are displaced. Do I even have to mention that the infrastructure for voting might be attacked, bombed by the Russians? Like, that people going to vote might be just bombed by Russians, and there is no infrastructure for mail-in voting, and that the mail-in voting places might be bombed as well while we're at it. This is so, and people love to, like, sort of compare it to US situations like World War II US, you know, that time when US was never attacked, or the Civil War, which is also disanalogous to this situation. Absolutely bonkers.
Because in a clip less than 30 seconds long, he just blew up our entire rationale for supporting his side in the war.
No, he didn't. You're an idiot.
Support him. Oh, of course we can. And we will. Here's Joe Biden from yesterday reaffirming America's unequivocal support for Ukraine.
No matter what happened in Russia, we, the United States, will continue to support Ukraine's defense and its sovereignty and its territorial integrity.
So to recap, we are currently fighting a war for democracy on behalf of a leader who just casually announced he's happy to end democracy and our democracy.
Ah, yes, end democracy. Because suspending election is the same as ending democracy. Socialists done left compared to Civil War, but it just doesn't work. During Civil War, we had no longer range missiles, drones, and land precise artillery. It's different today. Of course, yeah, it's different. Like, suspending the election is ending democracy. Do you know what makes me the most mad about this? Actually, the most angry? It's the fact that there are many people that will probably watch this crappy Tucker Carlson show, and they will just believe it. They will believe it. I like Socialist Dunlap, but he was wrong there. Well, you know. I think all of us have blind spots, so we'll see. We'll see what Socialist Dunlap future takes will be. We all have our blind spots. But yes. Well, Tucker Carlson, like, I'm just gonna say this. Unfortunately, I can. Leighton shoes. I'm just gonna say this. Socialism done left has a blind spot, and Tucker Carlson's like just a dishonest piece of shit. Okay? It's just a dishonest piece of shit. That's all I can say about Tucker Carlson. ridiculous. Like, I'm gonna say this for the 5th time. When I first about the whole voting thing, like I think I heard about it on Polish television before any of the drama online around it, of course, happened because of course, like my first initial thought was, oh yeah, of course, duh, of course it's not gonna happen now. Like that's obvious. That's the most obvious thing in the world. That the elections cannot be held right now. Like it felt like a formality to say it. Like it's like a formality, and it should be a no big deal. That was my reaction to it when I first heard about it. It's like, well, yeah. What do you expect, right? Ah, yes, let's do mail-in voting when our people are largely home and secure from all the bombings. Yeah, of course. Like, Jesus. So stupid. And then clowns like Tucker Carlson can just run with it and say, ah, yes, Zelensky ended democracy. This is like a sketch parody. This feels like a sketch. Zelensky ends democracy.
Supporting leaders have no problem with that. In fact, they're strongly for it. Shocked? You shouldn't be. Of course they're for it. You should have seen this coming.
It's going to be Indiana Jones for the Ukraine Postal Service if they do that. I'm not surprised that Dylan does not want to watch this because this is like horrible. But you have to keep in mind once again, many people will watch this. Many people will believe it. Many people will then go into the world and will spread this as some sort of gospel. That Ukraine is getting rid of its democracy. That Ukraine is installing the Zelensky dictatorship and how the US helped such a dictator. Like it's gonna happen. People will just this is the worst thing about this. I'm pretty sure Tucker Carlson, even out of Fox, still has some sway among, I don't know, conservatives, Republicans, or whatever.
Wars for democracy.
It's gonna be Indiana Jones for the Ukraine Postal Service if they do that. Like it's so like I don't really want to be mean towards socialism and left, but please bear in mind, socialists and left, that you are in alignment with Tucker Carlson on this topic.
Democracy always cancel democracy in the process. That's why our leaders love them. And they all do it, even the virtuous leaders. Abraham Lincoln suspended habeas corpus. The British government under Winston Churchill threw an entire opposition party into prison and let them rot for the duration, in some cases with their families. So,
Okay, so I'm done. He's moving off of the point. He didn't mention it. I think I have to mention.
One moment. The experts called. A war is happening. I'd expect them to withhold some normal functions of the government to prioritize their victory. Yeah, of course. Hello, Daedalus. Our expert is going to call in and we're gonna make fun of Tucker Carlson together. So while I do this, if you could introduce yourself to the audience, tell everybody what you're all about, even though I'm pretty sure everybody already knows you, but it's like important.
Fair enough. Good afternoon, morning, etc. Gigglers. I am Daedalus Media, co-host of the Two Guys Talking History show. The link going in the chat now. I am here to talk about cluster munitions today.
Yes, but you're also here to make fun of Tucker Carlson.
But I'm also going to make fun of Tucker Carlson.
Yes. Also, you are roboting.
Because I don't like Tucker Carlson.
Nobody does, quite honest.
Thanks, Karasu.
Let me see.
Better, worse? What are we doing? I can't see anything on this end.
Well, I'm sharing the screen with you right now.
Yes. Okay. You know what? Tucker Carlson comes from a family who used to be a frozen food magnate.
What?
He would have
I'm
been so
sorry?
much better for the world if he made. He comes from a family that used to produce frozen foods like TV dinners and shit. He would have been so much better for the world if he just contented himself with making shitty frozen pot pies.
Oh god. Like, we've been watching this for a while. This is like unbearable. This is unbearable level of bullshit. Like, I don't even know what to say, you know? Does that make sense?
Well,
like, it's predictable, you know what's gonna happen, you know exactly what's coming, but you're still sort of like
back in 2014,
blindsided
I was a
by it.
content creator on my personal Twitter. I made a joke that the Republican Party was going to nominate Vladimir Putin for president in 2016. And that turned out to be not nearly as false as we thought it was going to be.
True. Unfortunately, yeah. Oh, do you know, have you seen this video? Have you
I've seen parts of it. Is he talking about the fact that Ukraine is not having elections during martial law?
Yes, which is like, okay, I should ask you first, when you've heard first about they're not, you're too loud? Okay, I'm gonna make you a bit quieter. I'm actually going to make a quick audio check before we continue this. Okay, I'm speaking. Say something.
Test 1, 2, 3.
Yes, you are a lot too loud. Now say something.
Test 1, 2, 4.
Now.
Meow.
Okay, that should be good. Okay, that works. That's good. We've done a little bit of audio check. It should be good now. And now you can answer me my question. When you first heard about the whole election not happening, what was your initial sort of response? I mean, well, not even response. What was your like? What did you think? What was your like this gut sort of feeling about it?
It seemed perfectly reasonable. Like, you're in the middle of your country being invaded. It's not uncommon to have that happen when our country is in a state of war, that they suspend elections and pick them up again afterwards.
Right.
So, like, it didn't really even register as to be unusual to me.
True.
And Tucker Carlson knows this too. Like, he knows that this is a perfectly acceptable, like a commonly accepted thing for countries to do.
Yeah, how do you?
Because he wants to vilify Ukraine, he's going to make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, but
most people, however, who aren't familiar with history don't know that, so it works.
You need to take something into consideration, namely that Tucker Carlson is a dishonest piece of shit. So, you know.
Yes, absolutely, he is. He is one of the worst actors in American politics.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And like when I first heard it, I've already said it. When I first heard on the Polish news, it was just said that, oh, the election's not going to happen. It's wartime. My reaction was, yeah, well, of course. Yeah, that's pretty obvious. It just felt like that it's pretty much
virtually every country is done in a state of major war for 200 years.
Like, it's basically felt like a formality to even say it to me, to be quite honest. Like, it's just not a big deal. It's a nothing burger of a topic. It's like, yeah, of course, like, let's move on. But I guess it became this whole big topic online. Like,
yeah, no.
Just pretty ridiculous. Yeah,
It's a
let's.
very common thing that right-wing media does, is they will comment on a very common thing
Yeah,
as if it's the end of the world, and people will pick it up and run with it because they don't know any better.
yeah, that's true. Like as I've been saying, the biggest thing that gets me mad about this is that I am 100% sure that there will be people that will just believe it. They will watch it and they will just believe it. They will listen to Tucker Carlson talking about Ukraine ending democracy and they will be like, oh, yeah, for sure. You know? Tucker
As
told us
opposed to
so, so.
the shining democracy that Russia is. We've
Yeah,
had the same president for 10 years now.
true. And, basically a president for life. Let's not pretend otherwise.
And even when he wasn't president, he was prime minister. Like, come on.
Right, yeah.
Like, let's not pretend for a moment that you're terribly concerned about democracy nearly as much as you're concerned about the interests of the Republican Party, who are hurt
Yeah.
now because they're deeply connected with the Russians.
Yeah. Like it's so ridiculous. And again, I'm sure there will be people that will just eat it up. They will just from from this weird episode, Twitter episode, they will just keep spreading the lie of Ukraine ending democracy. No more voting for Ukraine. Emperor Zelensky is on the throne now. Or something, you know? Okay, just
Yeah,
yep.
it's funny because that trailer for the new Napoleon movie dropped today too, and you see people like Tucker Carlson and their ilk praising people like Napoleon all the time, and he most definitely crushed a republic and became emperor.
Yeah, but he was the emperor of the French, not of France, you see. From late 90s, his leadership only has been one term and not president when he was prime minister. True. Okay, let's continue the video, shall we?
Yep.
Then, since Tucker Carlson left out some vital information. Can you believe that?
I cannot.
The Ukrainian Constitution, as written in 1991, clearly states that elections could be suspended, or elections would be suspended in the instance of martial law, and then elections would take place, and whatever government was elected when martial law went into place will stay in place until martial law ends, and they can have democratic elections.
Right.
And Ukraine avoided enacting martial law for a very, very long time, to a point long enough that it could suspend elections. In 2014, when Ukraine was invaded and Crimea was annexed, they still had elections. Petro Poroshenko was elected democratically in Ukraine. And then, over his administration, as he started to leave office, and the anti-terrorist operation, which is what they called it, their counteroffensive against the Russians in Donetsk and Luhansk was unable to push them out, they still did not suspend elections. They did not enact martial law long enough in order to say, okay, elections are not going to be happening. And then Zelensky was elected as monitored by multiple election monitors, credible election monitors, multiple organizations with exit polling matching the results. Zelensky was elected on a generally semi-pro-peace platform. The idea that they wanted to bring a negotiated settlement to the war. Then during Zelensky's administration, Ukraine is completely invaded. They try to conquer all of the country.
Yeah, and failed.
And that is when martial law is enacted, and the 1991 version of the Ukrainian Constitution kind of kicks in the gear, and they say, okay, until this war is over, martial law has been declared. In order to win a war, you need like a consistency of administration, you need a strong government. We are going to have the current party in place until the war is over. Once the war is over, we'll hold an election.
There's also more that comes into this, by the way.
But he doesn't mention something that I think we could compare this very easily to from World War II. He mentions the other thing, and I think if he mentioned...
There's more that comes into this. There's also the fact that so many people are displaced, right? You have so many people living here in Poland. Like, you have, because, like, let's just take it point by point. Even if people who are still in Ukraine were to be made to go to the, voting ballots, right? Like, what would stop Russia from just bombing those? Nothing.
Well, there's nothing that's going to stop that.
Of
And
course.
another point, Dylan is absolutely right. Ukraine hells off as long as humanly possible. They try
Yeah.
to keep their country functioning normally,
Yeah.
despite the fact that they have been in a shooting war for 9 years now.
Yeah.
Like, it's only after the entire bulk of the Russian army flows over their borders. They're
Yeah.
like, okay, now we got to buckle down and get serious about this.
Yes.
Like, and not just Tucker Carlson, but a whole lot of people have been really dishonest about that fact.
Yeah, of course. Like,
Ukraine has been fighting a full-scale war now against Russia, despite the fact that they're using proxies. They've been fighting a full-scale war against Russia for 9 years.
yeah. That's right, yeah. Have you seen the WIC panel with Anastasia, Socialism Done Left, etc.?
Is it the last one, or is there an event?
The last one, yeah. The last one. You know, it was about this topic. The last one was about this topic. About the elections.
I have not.
Yeah, Socialist Done Left basically made an argument that Ukraine should just do a mail-in thing no matter what. And to me, it's ridiculous, you know?
Well, here's the thing about mail-in ballots. You have to have collection points.
Well, you also have to have the infrastructure to make it happen.
Yes.
And from what I know, Ukraine does not have it. You're gonna waste precious resources to build an infrastructure for this from the ground up when there's a war happening? Like, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a God bless leftists, but oftentimes they get unrealistic, and I say that as leftist myself.
Yeah.
We get really unrealistic about foreign relations. Like they seem to think that if everyone just sits around in a mass class solidarity prayer circle, that the need for countries goes away, and that's just not how this works.
Yeah. You have displaced, like, let's just technical problems.
It's back. Okay, we're good.
All right. So yes, my Streamlabs OBS just randomly decided to crash, and also Discord. So yeah, that happened. This is the first for me, for that sort of thing to happen. So yes, I apologize. I apologize for this happening.
You have, you lost Tucker Carlson and me in the YouTube window. We haven't fully come back yet.
Oh. That's right. Wait, I know why. It's because I have to pop you out again. Oh my god. We've lost Tucker as well. Oh yes, okay. So I have to bring everything back. You... Jesus Christ. This is the first time, but of course the worst problems happen. Says the argument was the US had an election during Civil War, which is so disanalogous that it's not even funny.
Yeah, but the American government in 1964 was under no real threat from the Confederacy.
Exactly.
The Confederacy never again got into the Union territory after Gettysburg. They were done. They just didn't know it yet. They spent a whole 2 years dying slowly.
Yeah. There you go. I'm bringing you back.
Lincoln suspends habeas corpus on railroad lines during, like, he takes steps like this. He's like suspends habeas corpus on railroad lines in order to get people, Congress, in to vote so that he can give himself war powers. Like, Lincoln takes a whole bunch of steps that are unprecedented in American history, but perfectly common for governments in, the 19th century when they're fighting wars. So That's like a disingenuous argument.
Yeah, as always. From okay, Toshim Electrical is done. Tucker Carlson is back. I think everything's back, right?
I think we're there.
Should also bring back your name.
And you gotta share the screen again with me so I can see what's happening.
That's true. One moment.
And the
Okay. I'm gonna... My apologies for all of this. Share screen. Maybe my computer is just being too taxed or something.
It might be.
We'll see. Okay, we're back again. Dylan also brought up that there are much concerns on internal displacement and refugees on board. Yeah, of course. And Anastasia also brought it up, like everybody brings it up. Like, there's also one other thing that I started to talking to you about. You also have to assume that Russian soldiers won't gun down voters who don't vote for the pro-Russian candidate, right? Yeah, that's a good point. And they will.
Well, Ukraine would probably isolate that pretty quick, actually. It wouldn't allow a pro-Russian candidate.
That's true.
The other aspect of martial law.
I'm pretty sure that Russia would just gun down all candidates, all voters, but... Okay, so...
Well, if their reaction after the dam explosion is any indication,
Yeah.
yes.
Millions of people displaced and Ukrainians still live under occupation. There's also one other thing that is important about the whole misplacement thing, right? I think Anastasia sort of talked about it, and I think it works similar to the Polish system. That you have this system of registered address. Are you familiar with that? Of being registered under an address? Yeah?
Yeah, that's how the American election system works.
It is?
Yes, we are registered at an address, and you go to a polling place per that address, or you.
Yeah, but in Poland it's mandatory. It's not optional.
Oh well, yeah, that's different.
Yeah, everybody has a registered address. It's not like, oh, I register my address for voting. No, everyone just is registered to an address. You have an address, you just have it, you know, and you vote. Your voting place, the place where you vote, is tied to the place where you are registered, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then, in order to, like, the displaced people, like as Carlson says, you don't have that, right? They just their home is either gone or occupied, and it's not a super easy thing to just re-register yourself to someplace else, right?
Right.
And again, socialists on left said, "Oh, we'll just make it easy," but
well, that's a really, really common thing about people who don't think about the world and just think about ideology. Is they think, well, we'll just do the thing, but you actually have to think of the logistics of doing the thing.
Yeah. Who's to say Russia doesn't compromise a candidate? That's how we know that millions of Ukrainians had been internally displaced even before the current invasion. Yeah, because of the previous invasion, right? Like many Ukrainian people were displaced because of the previous invasion, yeah. And also many people like went to Poland probably because of the previous invasion. Like you have about 3 million Ukrainian people living in Poland now, which is closing at 10% of the population, you know?
Yeah, it's it's impractical to hold an election right now.
Of course, yeah, it would be stupid. And to frame it as democracy being ended is just, well, as we've
Dishonest.
like, you know, established, Tucker Carlson is a dishonest piece of shit. Yes, I believe 3.6 million had been internally displaced who applied such papers between 14 and 19-ish, right? And there are like the 3 million people in Ukraine that are just not going to be able to vote because they're in Poland, right? Because the mail-in voting is not really a thing that's like organized. Ridiculous. And there are many more Ukrainian people around the world as well. Turkey agreed to okay Swedish NATO membership.
Yep. In exchange for concessions and joining the European Union.
Interesting. Okay, let's continue. Just a very dishonest video. And yeah.
The other thing that they talk about when they mention British democracy during World War II, he might look a little, his argument might look a little worse. During World War II, elections in Great Britain were suspended because they were fighting a war for their survival and the survival of democracy in Europe.
Right. Also, I'm worried about like Turkey. I'm worried. I would be great, but I'm also sort of worried about Turkey. Like, isn't Turkey sort of supportive of Russia?
They just did a flip-flop, pretty hard flip-flop on Russia, like in the last week. So,
Okay.
Probably because Zelensky was sweet-talked him for a little while.
I see. Because I'm a bit afraid of... Yeah, but that's... I'm not worried. We have already problematic countries in like Hungary. That's essentially why I am worried. That instead of the accursed duo of Poland and Hungary, it's gonna become the unsaintly trio of Hungary, Poland, and Turkey. You know? Spreading the anti-European Union sentiment. I don't know. I guess I am a bit worried about that, you know? Poland, Hungary, and Turkey joining forces to spread harmful stuff. Since Slovakia also joined the trio, making it a quartet. What is Slovakia like? Basically Poland and Hungary as well. Oh no. Okay, no, it's not the topic of our thing right now. We should probably get back on track. Isn't that right, Daedalus?
Yes.
That's not one of those. We're talking about democracy, so I might as well just drop that there. That's not the only reason they were fighting. A million reasons they were fighting, but that was one of the reasons they were fighting. And they suspended elections until the war was over. Then Winston Churchill was swiftly kicked out of office. Labor won a huge wave, and then they built the foundations for things like the National Health Service, and that would shape the modern British political landscape. Why do we have any reason to believe that in Ukraine that would not be the same exact thing that happens? This was something that was in the Ukrainian constitution already, that in an instance where the nation has to declare martial law for a situation like this, a situation of national survival,
of course,
they will suspend elections until it is calmed down enough so that they can unsuspend elections, and then they'll have elections. Just like the United Kingdom did during World War II, just like many other democracies would do in the same exact position that Ukraine was in. But now, Tucker Carlson is not only leaving out the information about the Ukrainian constitution, he's just making it sound like Zelensky came out one day and said, no more elections. Elections are canceled. Even though
forever.
if he wants to maintain martial law, there's a lot of things he can't do. Not one thing is he can't have elections. Another thing he can't do is change the Constitution. A lot of people have been hounding him to change certain aspects of the Constitution. And he has announced multiple times, I can't do that because we would need our legislator to vote on it, and we can't change. The legislator cannot change the Constitution during martial law. Martial law would have to be ended. The war would have to be won. The war would have to be over for us to be able to change these things. This is something that's been in the Ukrainian Constitution for a long time now. He doesn't mention that. He tries to paint it as if Zelensky just kind of randomly announced elections are canceled.
Yeah.
And some dictatorial power grab in order to completely dominate the political landscape permanently. He's now the dictator of Ukraine.
With Tucker, so...
Even though the same thing has happened in the United Kingdom before, it's happened in other locations. He doesn't use this example in the United Kingdom. He uses a different example of Winston Churchill. I think he didn't use the more direct comparison, because maybe it would have made him look worse if it's like, hey, actually, it's pretty common for a nation state to suspend electoral politics, or at least elections, until wartime is ended, until their nation is no longer occupied. That's not such a crazy concept, and it certainly isn't the announcement of the end of democracy. It certainly isn't.
Yeah, it's not.
You can disagree with it even. You could even say that even though hosting elections during wartime is incredibly difficult, you would have to completely change how Ukraine does elections. You would have to make it so you get all the soldiers to vote, you get all the people in displaced territories to vote.
I mean, then you basically enter the socialism done left silly thing. I would still think it's silly, but it would be, I guess, a couple of levels above Tucker Carlson, right?
Well, I think socialism to the left is just ignorant of the realities of situation.
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson is actually
Malignant. Yeah. Malignant tumor.
He's trying to advance Republican interests, which happen to align with Russian interests, which is just fucking buck wild, by the way.
Yeah. So you should be closer to the mic so we can hear you better.
Sorry, I'm trying to sit back. I walked Avery to the vet today, and we got all our shots, so it's been a long day for me.
It's okay. All right, let's continue. I couldn't hear you.
How does that sound? Better? There.
Better, yeah. You said something that was like as if you didn't speak at all. You probably have a pretty good sound, reduction or... Okay. Has something happened?
No.
Okay.
Areas, people displaced from the country, so you got to get the ones in America and France and Germany and Poland. You got to get them to vote, make sure displaced people can vote.
Yep.
You're going to have to either accept that those in occupied territory don't get to vote.
Yeah.
Or you're going to have to find some other way for them to vote, something I haven't been able to figure out yet. So most likely you're going to accept that those in occupied territory don't get to vote.
Too bad. Stay mad, right?
While under fire, right?
Just don't get occupied.
I think that is the correct position for Ukraine to take. I know socialism done left, talk done left. That's something he believes. But you cannot take the situation and extrapolate it to Ukrainian democracy is dead. If that was the case,
stupid.
He would have to be consistent and say there is no British democracy. British democracy is dead. It died while Winston Churchill was in office. Or we can point to Abraham Lincoln. He used Abraham Lincoln as a direct example, the suspension of habeas corpus. Is American democracy dead? No, it is not. American democracy did not die after the Civil War was won.
Not yet, anyway.
Not for lack of trying on
Tucker's
part.
Sorry?
Not for a lack of trying on Tucker's part.
True. And Trump's, etc. My goodness. All right, let's continue. I'm trying not to die here.
Ukraine likes the war because it means he can stay in power is absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely silly unless he has some larger piece of evidence besides
he doesn't.
The Ukrainian constitution being abided by. Then I'm just going to completely disregard it as nonsense and just pure speculation. Which is
probably the default with Tucker Carlson, right?
Well, that's granting Tucker Carlson an extraordinary amount of charity. He's an actual stain on American politics.
Yeah. I mean, Dylan always tries to be fair, so, even to pieces of shit like Tucker Carlson. you know?
I feel no compunction or necessity to be fair. Tucker Carlson is horrible. You should make fun of him whenever possible.
True. I agree with that. Which guy are you listening to? Is this review of Attack? Well, we're watching together with Daedalus Media. We're watching Dylan roasting Tucker Carlson, who tries to sell a BS narrative to his audience about Ukraine ending democracy because the vote is postponed, right? Until the martial law is lifted. Oh my God. Horrible, 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 horrible times.
50% of every Tucker Carlson program is just pure speculation.
Yep.
In a war for democracy, you can do anything. Imagine what a man might do who has...
What was that little creepy giggle? Did you catch that?
Yeah, it's just Tucker Carlson being bad at talking to real human beings. Like, this is a man who used to think that a bow tie made him look good.
I was creepy, I have to say. A creepy giggle.
If that man, say, ran Ukraine, he might seize churches, arrest priests, ban all criticism of himself, disappear.
Hello, my name is Dylan Patrick Burns. I'm 22 years old. I'm from Maryland, the United States, in College Park. I think when it comes to Zelensky's domestic policy, he's kind of a neo-lib cuck. His policies on labor are absolutely terrible. The way that the administration has treated teachers is, I think, with complete disregard, especially under work time conditions. I believe that they have...
That is interesting because that's one of the things I wanted to ask Dylan. What is his judgment of Zelensky as a president? So I guess I'm getting it here. I'm getting it answered here, so I guess I won't have to ask later. Why must the demons of society live comfortably while the normal and decent people work all the time and get no health care? Well,
not managed the privatization of Ukraine well, and using the war in some ways to go after labor, as the administration has done, and trying to whittle down labor protections for big companies, for big business, is bad. It's gross. I think that's dog doo-doo.
Damn.
Bad. If you would actually sit me down and bring me through Zelensky's policies, I would probably disagree with at least 40% of it.
Damn, that's a lie.
Like a decent portion of it. You can say that in Ukraine. That isn't illegal in Ukraine. That isn't. I don't know why he's criticize Zelensky. Yes, you can. Zelensky
is that he's alluding to Zelensky building up to creating such a situation.
Well, he's trying to paint Zelensky as a fascist dictator.
Yeah.
In line with Russian propaganda.
It's just gonna start, and the whole arresting priest is probably about the whole Russian Orthodox Church who was cooperating with Russia.
Yeah, like it's not unreasonable to arrest. I know this is a novel concept for Americans,
right?
But if people betray their country,
they get arrested. Yeah,
to arrest them. Like we should do that more. We should take Donald Trump and say, "You betrayed this country. You stay in a cell forever."
Yeah, and keep in mind that Ukraine already has its own Orthodox Church, the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. So, you know. And
like a very bad policy for Tucker Carlson because he has also betrayed the United States.
True.
But I'm okay with it.
Same, to be honest.
Who do? What am I gonna get? What's gonna happen? Are they gonna come? Dylan, you've been arrested. Why have you been arrested? You said you disagree with Zelensky on labor policy.
Oh man.
When people get arrested in Ukraine,
you
know what they get arrested
for?
Get
dunked.
It's for calling the Russians and telling them where Ukrainian positions are, which obviously is treason.
Oh no.
Or you're directly denying, like Bucha was.
So what you're saying, Dylan, is that people are being arrested for free speech. Got it. Isn't that right, Daedalus?
Yes,
betraying positions is just free speech, isn't it?
yes, it's just free speech if you betray your country in wartime.
True. It's just
Robert
everybody has like
exercising his right to
they're just saying a random location that Ukrainian soldiers happen to be in to their fellow Russians. What's wrong with that? Right? Right?
perfectly fine.
Of course. Can't believe Dylan anti-free speech. Anti-speech burns. The right-wing people make it sound like Zelensky was Darth Vader a few years back. Why do they hate him exactly? Was the supplied reason? Well, because he is in charge of Ukraine.
Because he's not Russian.
True.
He's not Putin.
Also, they're not making him out to be like Darth Vader. They're actually making him out to be like Palpatine or something.
Yeah, let's keep in mind that Zelensky was a man who played his piano with his penis, like very shortly before becoming president.
Jesus.
Maybe just keep that in mind about him. Like he might not be that serious of a man. Like he's clearly risen to the occasion, but he has a sense of humor, which Tucker Carlson does not,
True.
as evidenced by that goddamn disgusting tie.
I'm surprised that the far righters didn't make a meme of Zelensky, like in a Palpatine robe saying, "I love democracy," or something. You know?
I love democracy. Wipe them out.
True. Execute Order 66 to destroy all of the Russians because you've not been here from the start. So Tucker Carlson said it's a war waged against Russia.
Russia started the war. Like
yeah, it's just so.
This is what happens when you have people like Tucker Carlson who don't actually have competent guests. And they have their own little platform. They can say whatever nonsense they want.
Yeah.
No one's gonna slap them for it.
Yeah, exactly. War waged. Why is this war waged against Russia? Why is it happening? Well, because Russia invaded.
By the Russians. Oh, Bucha was done by the Ukrainians. They were all slaughtered by the Ukrainians. Fuck those victims in Bucha. I don't care. I hope more die. Stuff like that
Jesus
will get you
Christ.
arrested by the SBU. So I don't know where this idea.
I mean, I would think so. I would hope so. Quite honestly.
It's just nonsense. That's the first thing.
Right? You would hope that those sort of people would get arrested, no?
Well, yeah, they're undermining the war effort.
Like, so okay, I'm gonna. You can see what I'm doing on the screen, right?
I see a mouse on the Discord. Hang on.
As in, you can see my. Do you have my stream open?
You have Dark Souls up, I think.
Demon
Dark
Souls.
right?
That's Demon Souls.
Demon Souls. Okay.
The remake on the PS5. So I'm gonna go to a safe spot. Do not be killed. There we go. And now we can. Yes.
When it comes to the churches, I think he's talking about the Russian Orthodox.
Yeah, he is talking about the Russian Orthodox Church. So yeah, I think it's natural to, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna be. It's ridiculous. And yeah, the Orthodox churches were they were cooperating with Russia pretty directly, right? Sending information. The Orthodox Church.
Yes, and like people don't necessarily get the relationship there is much more akin to the Catholic Church than it is to a Protestant church. So, there's
I mean,
a certain amount of Russia answers to the patriarch of the Russian Orthodox Church.
Right.
And if he says support the war, which he does, because he's not really a priest so much as he's a Putin crony dressed up as a priest.
Yes.
Then that's how that's going to go down. So arresting those people is reasonable because they're undermining the war effort.
It's crucial. And again, a Ukrainian, it's not like Ukraine is left without a church. It's not like the church is targeted. There is a Ukrainian Orthodox Church, and it's functioning perfectly fine.
And a huge Jewish community, and all kinds of religion in Ukraine. Like,
Yeah,
step right off with this nonsense, Tucker.
yeah, of course.
Orthodox Church. I disagree with some of the actions of the Ukraine.
Oh, Karasu. Russia was coerced to invade. Poor Russia. True. Ukraine was too attractive and winked at Russia.
Short skirt. They
Yeah.
couldn't help themselves.
True. Just Russia has impulses. Russia has needs. Jesus Christ. It sounds so horrible.
Now we're gonna get canceled for sure.
True. By Bad Bunny and DJ
So
Mule.
funny. Oh God. She's been on a Twitter rampage today again. Apparently we're all racist.
Is it about noodles again?
It's still about goddamn noodles and about foreign man in a foreign land. And
Oh God. Jesse Gender joined in to defend foreign man in a foreign land, of course.
well, and people like got mad at her quite rightly for the fact that she blocks people who criticize her.
Yeah, of course.
Uh,
Like, this is a big aside, but I will tomorrow start my preparation because I feel motivated to cook and to maybe make it into a video or a stream to cook some noodles.
oh Jesus, I am.
You should join me in this endeavor. Sorry?
Great. I am not on with Dylan Greaterant. I am Daedalus Media. I am the host of the Two Guys Talking History show. You haven't seen me around before, but me and Lucy actually collab quite a lot.
Yeah, because Daedalus is a big history expert, you know? And I like to call myself a history channel. So of course, I'm gonna collab a lot with a historian who's an expert, right?
I studied military history, so I've been doing a whole lot of stuff on the war in Ukraine for the past year.
Yeah. And you also have a co-host.
Who is a expert in the Holocaust history of Ukraine. So we are an interested party.
Right. And I believe that we should continue to collab into the far, far future. I think you should link your stuff again.
Yeah.
That's the perfect opportunity for you to link your stuff again. Also, what are you at? Subways?
157 as of today. We picked up one overnight.
All right. We should get you to 200 soon. So everybody here should subscribe.
Why can't I post links? Bad computer.
If it's okay, Karasu, can you maybe... I should make Karasu a mod also on the page, by the way. I really wish to listen Hetman talking about one day of the Eastern Front and Hungarian, Romanian, Italian forces in Ukraine. We'll get that one day.
Turn around. Well, I'm in the process of yelling at him about signing up for Discord on his phone. After which, I think you should feel free to bother him all day long. Because he's been talking to me about it for 20 years, and frankly, I think it's
20 years? That's a long friendship.
We have been friends since the beginning of high school, and we're also quite a bit older than everyone else you in this space, it seems.
Yeah. It's like I've been
the only person in his 40s. Aiko is 38, I think. That's about it.
I've been friends with my best friend since primary school. That's a long friendship as well.
Yes.
I appreciate speakers with background knowledge. Yes. So we should all... Wait, I should... Are you streaming right now as well?
No, I am not at the moment, actually.
All right.
I didn't think to do that because I'm stupid.
I'm gonna have to send you this conversation as a file so you can also upload it to your channel.
Yeah, I gotta sit and do a whole bunch of editing tonight. It's gonna be a long one.
Also, I think this is the perfect opportunity to do a little bit of an announcement, I guess, because is it okay for us to sort of announce the thing you've asked me about in the group chat, or is that not a thing that's...
Yeah, that's fine. That's absolutely.
Okay, so can you tell the audience a little bit about it?
So some of you guys were here for Sunday, the night of the Putin or the Wagner coup, where I and Lucy and Brooks were on with President Sunday. Me and Hetman are going to do a follow-up to that tomorrow night. I've invited Lucy, Brooks, and President Sunday again. I've heard from Brooks, who seems interested. Lucy said she'll come, and President Sunday is not answering his DMs again today. So I added him in the cathedral to go look at his DMs, and I'll bother him again before the night's out. But it's been a wild couple weeks after that Wagner incident. So you should definitely tune in tomorrow night. It'll be about 8 my time, which is Mountain Central.
Wait.
Mountain Standard Time.
So wait, in how many hours will that be?
Oh Jesus.
Over 12, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
It'll be about 28 hours from now.
Which means I'll be able to catch some sleep. Okay, that's good.
Yes.
That's a positive thing. Hello, I'm late. It's like better late than never, Palm Dad. But yes, we have plans for big co-op. So yes, as I've said before, we've done all the advertisement. You should join me on the noodle thing, and you should also cook and post it.
Here's the thing. Stir frying is one of my favorite ways to prepare food. Not because I'm trying to steal Asian culture, but because it's what I'm going to make for dinner tonight when I'm done here. Because it's a great way to get all the food groups in a single bowl and quick and easy. And I don't see why that's a bad thing. That's how culture works.
Right. Keep in mind, not all Asian cuisine does the stir frying. Like, for example, like Vietnamese is more boiled noodles compared with meat. It's, it uses less deep frying.
There's a soup type thing going on there too. Asian food is fantastic.
It's great. It's really good.
All over Asia, like Middle Eastern food, fantastic. I don't know if you've ever had Middle Eastern food, but you should go out get it some as soon as you can.
Just a bit.
Because they do amazing things, and it's very similar to Mediterranean food, but better.
Oh, well, we're on food. I also say that genuine African food is also really, really good. Like, we went to this because we wanted to go to a Vietnamese place that we know with my best friend, and we just saw along the way that there was an African place run by African people, and we went in, and it was just really good. Yeah.
The other thing I've noticed since I moved out to Colorado is there are a lot of indigenous fusion places where they make traditional indigenous food and they fuse it with other foods, like indigenous Mexican food.
Yeah.
Fusion or stuff like that. It's fantastic. And the Mexican food out here is great too.
Yeah.
And I come from a foodie city in Chicago, so we're picky to begin with.
My friend has started a restaurant.
Some fantastic Polish food too.
Ooh. The president of Warsaw said that when Polish people go abroad and they cannot go find a well, I've told you this when we talk with Hetman, they cannot find a Polish restaurant, they will go to a Jewish one because it's and Hetman said that many people abroad don't understand
that's one of the things.
The Eastern Slavicness of Jewish.
Food has always been one of the most prominent ways that people experience cultural traditions.
Yes. Absolutely, yeah.
That's kind of how people get to know other cultures. Because, and here's one of the things my dad told me when I went off to college, and it's proven to be true. The people you eat with are who you become your friends. And food is how you share of yourself with each other.
Yeah.
It's like a stupid intimate act to cook someone dinner. So, this whole thing about Noodlegate is such a ridiculous Like these people are honestly ridiculous.
They are. You're above ridiculous. You're beyond ridiculous, in my opinion. But you know, this is why I don't know. I got inspired to do a cooking video. What do you think?
I don't know if I have the setup for it. Like, I'd have to move around a whole bunch of lighting stuff.
It's okay. I'll make it work with my non-setup.
Fair enough.
I'll just make it, and then I'm gonna add Demon Mama to make her react to me in the cooking mama thing.
Cooking Mama section.
Yeah, yeah. See, it's all about the cloud in the end. Also judging people who put ketchup in their scrambled eggs or mac and cheese. But yeah, like, and the person that did the noodle cookbook also went to the country to just train it. So
See, that's the question I had, because I went over Soul Bunny's video in my stream, and like I looked up the author, and it didn't say anything about her background. But that was the point I made: is if she went to Asia to learn about these things, then that's exactly what she's supposed to do.
right?
Like that's how you do cross-cultural stuff.
Yeah.
But I can't say one way or the other because there's not like a list of that.
Like, it sort of reminds me of when you know how famous the Japanese tea ceremony is, right?
Yes.
So there was a sort of like a presentation many years ago in Poland of the tea ceremony. It was all nice. It was at a school, and the Japanese people who held the ceremony, they said, "We're actually really happy that more and more people from abroad are picking this up, are doing this ceremony, because people in Japan are not all that interested in it." So we're actually kind of happy that this tradition is actually being kept alive, because Japan doesn't seem to be interested in doing that.
Yeah, and that's how you share in your culture, is like
Like,
basic way it's supposed to work.
yeah.
And that's why I was talking last night in the cathedral, like what is Soul Bunny's end game? Is she just hate filled about all this stuff?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I saw that.
That's how you end racism, really, is you make culture accessible to everyone so they can see that it's good.
Yeah. And the tea ceremony people were basically, we just want this to continue. We are not concerned with who in particular continues it, you know?
Yeah, it's just so ridiculous to me.
Also, Salbani really misses the fact that the author had been attacked due to her perceived Jewishness after this noodle call out. Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
require Soul Bunny to do research on that gets in the way of being self-righteous.
Yeah, that's true. Lucy Haza getting featured on Cooking Mama. That would be great. That will be great. It will be, how you say, roasted by Demon Mama. Oh gosh, I threw a bomb. Okay, let's continue the video. We done the pleasant, now we have to do the Tucker Carlson. I understand some groups' reluctance of sharing such needs Native Americans, but that is due to how colonization happened in the U.S., right? Yeah.
Government has taken.
I can understand that, yeah. But that's a conversation to be had, right?
Yes, it's a
Against the
different
Russian
conversation.
Orthodox Church, but nobody in Western media has painted the picture correctly. All of them just say, look at these churches that were just, saying we love Jesus, and then Zelensky was like, I hate Jesus, and then came in and
True, he does.
Can you believe that?
Just like me.
Can you believe it?
I'm Jewish, so I'm allowed to hate Jesus.
Head of the Russian. Let me just say it again.
Isn't that right?
Orthodox
Daedalus?
Church said that if you go to Ukraine and you die
guess that's
killing
the rule,
Ukrainians, you will go to heaven. That's like close to like a call for jihad, man. A call for jihad against Ukraine. Now, the United States government has killed people for radical preaching in the Middle East with drone strikes. In fact, I believe Donald Trump has actually done that. His candidate that he supports. But Ukraine, not even, by the way, expelling all these churches. A lot of them still operate on Ukrainian soil. Not expelling all these priests. A lot of them still operate on Ukrainian soil.
That's because there's a difference between.
That is showing that.
That's because there's a difference between Russian Orthodox Church and Ukrainian Orthodox Church, right?
Well, even the Russian Orthodox churches would continue to be allowed to operate, but the figures in the Russian Orthodox Church who committed treason would not be.
Yeah, of course. That should be super obvious. But apparently it's not to some. Which is sad.
Ukraine
Oh, I died.
When he hasn't even taken these things into consideration.
Sorry?
If you don't want to get arrested, don't commit treason.
True.
A lot of
How did the concept of cultural appropriation come about? Ah, that's a long story. We'll talk about it after Tucker Carlson.
We got to do
nation states
subdivisions too.
Sorry?
We got to do cluster bombs too.
Yeah, of course. It's the main reason why you're here as the expert, after all.
Exactly.
Do the exact same thing that the Ukrainian state did in its position, even if I disagree with it. See, I'm an American. I'm a freedom tard. I'm 100% on religious freedom, 100% on freedom of expression when it comes to government interference.
I'm Polish, so no freedom, okay?
I'm apparently a bad American because I'm like, maybe some religious oppression is a treat.
I'm Polish, just, you know. So I'm rabidly anti-Russian and, you know, I'm also evil. I'm a duck, and ducks are a symbol of luck, so...
Oh, you're a good boy. Yes, I love you.
Cultural appropriation is a relevant idea, but not how they present it. Like, I can give you... Do you want a real, like, a super hyperbolic and sadly real example of cultural appropriation? Like a super hyperbolic, but like when I saw it, I was like, oh, so this is how cultural appropriation actually looks like in its most deranged form. Are you ready for this?
Hit it.
Like when Vosh was debating this, I think it was Vosh. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Vosh. Vosh was debating this guy, was claiming that rock, jazz, and all of that is white music.
Yeah, that would be pretty bad. Also, patently untrue.
Yeah, that happened, actually. I was like,
Yes.
was just watching in amazement and blinking. And so that's how the most extreme form of cultural appropriation looks like, I guess. Like when you just take a whole genre of music created by black people and say, yeah, this is white music.
Here, want to do some Daedalus lore right for a minute?
Yes.
Daedalus
Always.
lore. Daedalus plays the saxophone. I do. I played the alto sax as a kid, and then in high school I played the baritone saxophone, which if you know the difference, it's basically the same thing, but a lot of hot air. So naturally I became a streamer.
So
Anyway.
posh.
Jazz is 100% African American music. Like learning jazz is so outside the realm of regular music education. I swear to God, it's amazingly cool, but it's definitely learning about a whole different way of approaching music.
Yeah.
It's just so different and so unique, and so it requires so much different thinking to do that than it does classical strained music. It's just you cannot say that it's the same thing.
Yeah, but
it's so wildly unique.
But to me, the real wild thing is that I'm from Poland, from the other side of the globe. And to me, like, it's like obvious, like the most obvious thing that jazz and rock are like, since they were created by black people, they're, you know, black culture, right?
Yes, and the other thing about jazz especially is a lot of jazz is, even to this day, done improv. Like somebody sets the chord that you're in and you stay within that set of notes and you play in those notes. It's explaining jazz in musical language is something that we have put onto it as a descriptive thing, not a
Right.
prescriptive thing. Like jazz explained in musical language just doesn't work that way. It's like you're just sort of like, this is the best I can do. Keep up.
Yeah.
It's amazingly cool to do.
What I mean is like you have people from the US, from the country of origin of the music, that say, "Oh, that's white 100%." I'm just left
Yeah, they're messed up.
dumbfounded, Basically, I'm just like,
Definitely messed up. I need to take this picture of Tucker Carlson too. Hang on.
this one that's on the screen right now.
Yes.
I'm just gonna take the mouse away.
I'm just getting his head. There we go. Got it.
Okay.
Tool is great.
Have great fusion in Hungary with jazz and folk music. Right, yeah. Yeah, music is also something that it's shared. But also, like, yeah, it's good to share, but it's also important to give credit to the creators of it, right? Not be like, oh, it's just white music.
Exactly.
Like, Jesus. Okay, let's continue with the Tucker,
When
Quacker.
I'm in Europe, that doesn't align with a lot of the European nation states that have been. And definitely when they talk about symbology around World War II, either the Soviet or Nazi symbology. But are we really going to say that because, what? They are criticizing them and talking about legislation to curtail the power of the church, which the head of said church is calling for a jihad against Ukraine?
True.
We're going to say you're no longer a democracy? I don't know, man. That seems pretty silly to me.
And that
Especially when, again, the guy he supported wanted to ban burning the American flag. Okay? Just saying.
That's happening. Just last month, Zelensky threw a man called Gonzalo Lira into prison indefinitely for the crime of daring to write about the Ukrainian government in unflattering ways.
Damn, nice.
Now, what's interesting, what separates
Gonzalo
Did
Lira
Tucker
was
Carlson just
providing
name drop Coach Red?
Gonzalo Lira was providing Russian troops with information. He was actively.
Oh my god, I died, but it was worth it. Oh, Coach Red Belt. That's his actual name, that person, Gonzalo.
Yes. Go by
That's
cult.
that's funny. That's funny. Yeah, that's funny. The person that made me root for Destiny in a debate. But yeah, as you've said, he was literally providing Russians with information. Like, he should be in jail. Good. What do you mean? Last night we're learning about the speech type. Like, we'll read this comment a bit later. Jesus. Was making content as Coach Red Pill for a while, yes.
Red
Jesus.
Pill? Gonzalo Lira?
Yes. Oh, God.
And that's all the information he gives on who Gonzalo Lira is? Okay, so many of you in my community will already know who Gonzalo Lira is.
Yeah.
So a lot of this is kind of just me hitting the old tunes, okay? But Gonzalo Lira is a pickup artist who has been living in Ukraine, and while within Ukraine, he has been denying every single atrocity that the Russians have done.
Yes.
Denying that they did Bucha, denying that they did really any atrocity. Then he blames it on the Ukrainians. No, yeah, the Jews marched themselves in the gas chambers. Yeah. Then, not only would he do that, he would call for stronger action, stronger bombing, more bombardments, more attacks on Ukraine, more bombing of Ukrainian cities. He would call for this on his program. While within a Ukrainian city, that is, while his neighbors were dealing with these types of bombardments, these types of...
Yeah.
Then the SBU goes
Insane.
in, detains him for a bit and tells him, look, we can either let you out, let you leave the country, or we can keep you here and you'll most likely be tried after the war. Either way, though, if you're staying within Ukraine, you have to stop calling for the country to be bombed, and you have...
That is more than he deserved. That is more courtesy than he deserved, by the way.
Yeah, especially when he starts this stuff where he relays information about Ukrainian troop positions.
Yes.
Like, that's a bullet in the head. Let's be done with this. But then they probably can't make him clean his apartment, which is definitely going to be what the landlord wants. He doesn't want to clean that himself.
To stop denying all these war crimes and trying to pin it on the Ukrainians when we have overwhelming evidence that the Russians did it. Then they let him go. And he continues to do it for like another year. Before eventually the SBU says, that's enough. They raid his house, and then they arrest him, and he's been detained ever since.
Good.
So he says, what
I'm
did
glad.
you classify Gonzalo Lira's words as?
And that's happening. Just last month, Zelensky threw a man called Gonzalo Lira into prison indefinitely for the crime of daring to write about the Ukrainian government in unflattering ways.
That's how he defines it. You know, he just wrote about it in unflattering ways. But then you tune into his stream, it's like, yes, the Russians need to bomb them more. They need to attack. They need to be more aggressive. The Russians will win.
That is unflattering.
Occupy all of Ukraine. He's like drawing up maps where Ukraine...
That is unflattering. Jesus Christ.
Technically true, I suppose.
Jesus.
The best kind of true.
Yeah. Oh, God. I hate Tucker Carlson so much.
Loses like half of its territory. No, or like almost all of its territory. And he's denying all these war crimes. He is not painting a good picture of what Gonzalo Lira actually did. Now, you can still be a free speech absolutist and say, even under those circumstances, you don't want him to be arrested. But when a guy in your country, while your country is being invaded, is calling for your country to be invaded harder, as mass graves are popping up around the country, a lot of democracies would have done the same thing in Ukraine's place. And as he mentioned, we have...
It's so sad that these things have to be explained, by the way.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. Like, Tucker Carlson is ridiculous. Kudos to Dylan for going through this all.
Yeah.
'Cause I would have given up already.
Also, you should get your mic closer to your mouth.
Yeah, hang on. I'm just trying to... Someone decided to try to pull me out of the vet today. Avery tried to climb up me in the exam room before he got his shots. He was that scared.
Oh. Damn.
Done things like that before in the United States. During World War II, the suspension of habeas corpus by Abraham Lincoln. Would he say that American democracy died in 1861?
Let's...
American democracy.
Well, actually, he might say American democracy died in 1865.
One moment.
When a certain cause lost. But anyway, continue.
Yes?
See, Dylan accidentally said World War II there, but he meant the Civil War.
Yeah.
Like that statement there, right there. He might think American democracy died when the South lost. Dylan gets what Tucker Carlson's about. He's just being really generous.
Yeah.
More generous than I would be.
True.
Separates this from other such cases is that Lira is an American citizen. So Joe Biden, who is quite a bit of SWAT, as they say in Ukraine, could have freed Gonzalo Lira within hours. But he didn't. He didn't want to. He didn't
Good.
Most people didn't want to.
True.
Because this is the problem with Gonzalo Lira, and it really doesn't help his case, is the dude's also just like a massive cunt. And I mean this in like, I'm not even trying to be mean. He just, the way he
True.
acts is
I saw that debate with Tesney and the other guy. Yeah, that's accurate. Wouldn't you say that's accurate?
Gonzalo Lira is a pederast, but never mind that. He wants young children to be marriage material.
Oh.
He's not a good person.
I mean...
He's horrible. Get rid of Gonzalo Lira forever. Lock him up for the safety of, I don't know, everyone.
I mean, to be fair, the whole being married to young kids is like the whole Republican Party program.
Yes, it's disturbing as hell. Like,
you know, the party that wants to fight against the grooming of the LGBT, by the way. Just saying.
every accusation is projection from them.
True. Is an admission. True. Very sad, very true. Who's Jill? What do you mean? Jill? Hello? Are you here?
I'm here. Who is Jill? I don't know who Jill is. I can't answer that question.
Yeah, I donate for
Resident
Jill?
Evil?
Oh, yeah, Jill for Resident Evil, yeah. It's Resident Evil Jill.
I still can't answer that question. I've never played Resident Evil.
Yeah. Well, everybody knows. So if you donate, you will see that the cool animation that always plays. Oh, Barry. You know?
All right.
That's a big thing. Okay, let's continue. We're getting sidetracked.
Vibes. Let me just give you an example. I remember he went out in public on Twitter and he started saying, "No one will debate me. None of these libtards will debate me. No one. No one will come on my program to debate me." And so I come forward. I'm like, okay, here
I'll debate
are
you.
5 times you lied. You lied about Bucha, and you continue to lie about Bucha. You lie about this. You lie about that. And
how do you even lie about something like Bucha? How do you even do it?
Yeah, it takes some balls to say that Ukrainians killed people there when the Russians are occupying this space.
Like, and again, I bet there are people that just eat it up and believe it. I can actually think of a very specific, quote unquote, demographic of people that will believe that.
Morons.
Marxist Leninists, I wanted to say, but you know.
That too. There's a great line in Mel Brooks' movie Blazing Saddles where the main character's talking to Willy Wonka. And Willy Wonka goes, "What do you think they were going to do? Invite you in? Marry you off to their daughters? You know, these are decent people, salt of the earth. You know, morons."
Ah. Okay.
apparently, that was not the debate he wanted to have. I get blocked. He does agree, though, to debate Destiny and Laserpick. 2 popular internet...
What a debate that was. Have you seen that one?
I covered it. It was horrible.
I'm not even sure if we didn't do a little bit of a collab on it or something.
No, I did that one by myself.
Yeah, but I think we discussed it or something.
We did discuss it, and I discussed it with Sunday for a little bit too.
Sorry, what did you do? What?
I discussed that particular debate
Right.
with Sunday for a little bit too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jesus.
that was just awful. It was at one point he decided to call a Bradley a Jeep. To say it's not armored, it's just like a Jeep, and I was like, no. Gonzalo Lira stand in front of a Bradley's 20mm cannon wind challenge.
So yeah, there we have it.
Creators. And the debate was a gigantic mess. I think we've watched it on the show before. I did a reaction to it on my second channel, Dilmbert's Live, if you want to go see it. He did a PowerPoint presentation and just expected them to sit in the audience as he brings slide after slide after slide, just being like, here's why you guys are stupid. Here's why you guys are wrong. Here's why you guys are imbeciles. He didn't want to have a debate. He wanted to lecture to 2 people. And Destiny jumped out 30 minutes in. He was like, this is stupid. I'm out of it.
Yeah, I remember.
Stayed in for 2.5 hours. Got drunk off his ass. Just seeing how much he could drag out the spool on Gonzalo. This is the...
I like your complete intolerance of crates and barricades in your playthrough. That's right. I'm not very tolerant. I have to destroy everything.
type of productive dialogue that Gonzalo Lira tried to promote. The dude was a cunt, so nobody likes him. That's the first problem. Most people don't like him because he's an asshole. Number 2, he calls for Ukraine to get bombed and attacked and destroyed constantly. And number 3, he tries to help the Kremlin cover up its war crimes. A little bit different than, I think Zelensky's economic policy is very bad, or I actually think that the war is wasteful. That's not what he said.
No.
Let's not paint it like that.
He remains in prison tonight. So that makes you wonder.
Good. It does make me wonder, actually. It does make me wonder. Do you know what it makes me wonder about?
whether or not he has dropped the soap yet?
No, it makes me wonder why was he out of prison for so long, actually. Unironically. Like, why was he let go to just do this crap for another year? I really wonder that, you know? He should have been just arrested earlier, to be quite honest. Yeah, it does make you wonder. But yeah, he should have been arrested sooner. But yeah, better late than never, I guess. Sorry?
Sometimes I'm a horrible person.
What happened?
I just hope he suffers a bit in prison.
Oh. Just he deserved it. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna have sympathy for someone like that. Wouldn't minding its own business. Not on my watch. True, I have to destroy it.
What's the real motive here? When
The
normal
real
people see
motive.
war, they see
I'm a trans woman, of course I'm gonna hate wood. But get it? Do you get it? Oh. The humor was so bad that Daedalus Media disappeared from the call. Oh no. Daedalus, what happened?
Oh, I'm back. My computer just decided to die.
Was my joke so bad that you decided to bail?
No, your joke was so bad it broke my computer.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. I would make it up to you by doing a good joke, but I'm not that kind of streamer.
I only know 3 good jokes. 3 men walk into a bar, the 4th one ducks.
Ooh, ducks, that's a good one. That's a good one. It's duck related. Good.
It is.
Amazing. Oh, you've missed my mom's joke, actually. Have you missed my mom's joke, or?
What was your mom's joke?
So it was about the whole noodle thing.
Oh, I did miss that then. What was that?
Because I told her about this whole situation that there's this thing about an author who did a noodle book. She was called a racist. And then there was this content creator, like there was this person who asked, why would a white person write a, noodle cookbook? And there's this content creator that responded with, because noodles are delicious, right? And I said that the person that said because the noodles are great, delicious was called a racist even more than the cookbook author, right? By a certain crowd, as I called it. And my mom said, because, I have to warn you, my mom has a specific humor, okay? So my mom said, well, maybe you should just say, you're right, noodles are actually horrible, and then they will like you.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Noodles are bad.
Maybe you should say that noodles are horrible and they will like you.
My FD signifier's friend.
True. Oh, I don't know. I like my mom's humor. Maybe it doesn't translate to be as funny into English.
Well, it sounds like your mother has a very dark sense of humor, which I can appreciate.
Yeah, she's an artist.
Dark humor's like food. Not everybody gets it.
True. Dumb jokes, best jokes. In fact, I have a joke for you. My friend has 2 dogs, and he named them Timex and Rolex. They're his watchdogs.
But I'm Tish.
Okay, let's continue. We're getting too much into pleasant things, and Tucker Carlson waits to torment us.
Yeah. See, as we all knew, up until right now, the only motive anyone ever talked about when it came to Ukraine was democracy. And now that Tucker Carlson has thoroughly took the lib cucks and thrashed them around, he's figured it out.
I'm gonna be honest. Like, Dylan's not as eager to use that language as I am. Like, there was an expert also that was on the conference about genocide, and he also he did say it,
Yeah.
Like,
genocide scholars don't screw around, though.
Yeah. Although the scholar did caveat it that it's like that it's a different type of genocide that people are sort of used to.
Yes.
That it's like he said that like obviously Russia's not going to try to kill all 40 million Ukrainians, right?
No,
But it's
what they're gonna
like,
do is
yeah,
they're going to do what they've traditionally done. They're going to reduce the population to a manageable number, and then disperse it.
right. Basically, yeah, they're just like it doesn't even need to be reduced to a manageable number. More like they're going to kill off all of the elites, and then they're just gonna, with the rest of the people, they're just gonna dissolve the identity. That's basically the modus operandi.
Sounds like, you know what that sounds a lot like?
Yeah.
It sounds a lot like Nazi Germany to me.
Damn. Well, what do you know?
Just saying.
What do you know?
You are still my favorite.
I mean, it was funny. That's why I don't chuckle, I giggle. Giggler. I don't chuckle, I giggle. My goodness.
He's got the real reason. The real reason they don't want you to know. It isn't a very complicated geopolitical event with a million different factors and interests pulling at the seams. No. He's got the one and only solution. Let's see. Let's hear it out.
Let's hear
I
it.
hate stuff like this. I despise it.
True.
I despise people who will go on the internet and be like, it's all, look, you know this really complicated issue? No. It's got a simple solution that it's been hidden from you by the elites. And
Yes, it does actually have a simple solution, believe it or not.
Russia can turn around and go home.
True, exactly. Actually, does have a simple solution. Russia can go home. Yeah.
I'm the one with the truth and the true answer, as a non-expert in the field.
Death and destruction, sadness and suffering. But that's not what demagogues see. They understand it differently. They know that war means
Wow. Tucker Carlson describing other people as demagogues is pretty hilarious on its own, isn't it?
I hate Tucker Carlson so goddamn much.
True.
power, mostly for them. During wartime, everything they do can be justified. War is the gravest of all emergencies. Imagine the COVID lockdowns times 1,000 plus
1 million billion.
This is ironic
like that,
from a man who is,
you know, and I
who's
mean,
been
this is a slightly mean
preaching a
Tucker's audience.
culture
I like
war.
that Tucker knows that Americans, even a lot of American veterans, don't really know what war's like. Because even the ones that would have the most close relationship with war, veterans,
That is so sad.
don't mean to be mean, are like pencil pushers, or you know, they run logistics, or if they
Keep
have been
playing the
deployed,
video, I gotta take the dog out, I'll be
they
back.
haven't seen battle, or if they have seen battle, the type of battle they've seen are completely different, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we're gonna
The
pause.
idea of not having air superiority.
I'm sorry? I'm sorry, what did you say? Oh, gone. That's right, Giggle. He ran. True. Daedalus, don't run. Oh my god. You ran, Daedalus. You ran. Daedalus run day. Oh. I deserve that. He ran. He ran from this debate. We all saw what happened. The Daedalus run day. You ever feel like violence is the answer in the face of having no tangible way to address bullshit? Well, that's a whole discussion, isn't it? Who? Daedalus. He ran. Daedalus ran day. He ran from our debate. We really are presents on the orbiters, aren't we? We really are presents on the orbiters. What an interesting room. I'm singing the song. True. About running? Well, so did you Have any of you seen the joke that President Sunday made when we did the coverage of Ukraine together? And I was on camera. Did you catch the President Sunday joke to me? If you haven't, I'm gonna repeat it here. Maybe Karasu saw it. Have you seen it, Karasu? The President Sunday joke to me? The joke was that President Sunday told me, "Get out of my room. Get out of my room, Lucy." It actually took me a second to get it, because it was pretty late at my place. Yeah, the joke was that we were on cam, me, President Sunday, and Brooks, and President Sunday told me, get out of my room, Lucy." It's because of the books. The joke is that President Sunday has a room full of books, and I also have a room full of books. So President Sunday said, like, "Get out of my room that's full of books." That's the joke, basically. That we're nerds. The joke is that we're nerds. And it's true. We are. Like, I didn't actually catch what Daedalus said, so I'm not sure when he'll be back. Because I think he said, but I sort of didn't catch it. Because the video was still playing and it was very quiet. So, I mean, if I didn't hear it, then probably you haven't either, so. Oh, wait. Wait, did he tell me to just continue watching, or? Yeah, did he say to continue to watch? Yeah, I didn't hear it. Oh, maybe I did hear it, but I was in the middle of trying not to die. Okay, let's continue then. I wish I read more, and then I get bored. I do a little better with audiobooks, but my attention span just moves around way too much. I'm still trying to finish that book I recommended. I mean, you two have to talk about the cluster bombs too at one point, that's true. Okay, let's continue.
American Marine sounds ridiculous, right? It's something that they might have to prepare for, but it's not something that they've ever experienced in their lifetime. The only people that could have ever experienced it are probably veterans from, like...
It's a very concentrating needed game, I have to admit. It's a good background game, but also sometimes it just gets a lot from you.
Like World War II. And even then, we had pretty overwhelming air power, late war. But he has to... But because Americans are so separated from war, he has to be like, war is like when COVID locked down, but drones.
Yeah. To me, that's such a weird... Like, this is the moment when sort of an American concept of war, and for example, my concept of war is very different. Like, yeah, there is no war happening in Poland right now, but like the many wars that happen in Poland sort of are part of the curriculum. Like, you still can see the effects of World War II all around you in Warsaw. Like, you can still see the old ruined buildings. You can see the fragment of the ghetto wall. So, like, the perspective about war is very, very different, even within that generation that never experienced war, like me, for example.
physically possible. War is like COVID lockdown, but drones. That's
Jesus.
my favorite Tucker Carlsonism.
Once war breaks out, politicians...
War is like lockdown with drones. That's just so... I don't even know what to say to that. I'm not even sure how to react to this revelation. Ah, you're back. Welcome back. Welcome back to hell. Welcome to hell, Daedalus Media.
I am back.
Welcome. I welcomed you to this hell.
Well, that's courteous of you.
It's true. I shall unpause now so you can be bombarded with the truth about this pointless war waged by the US against Russia.
You have
become
25 minutes
gods with the power of life and death. So in a peaceful democracy, you have to debate your political opponents in public, and that's tiresome. But in a war for democracy, you can just throw them in jail or have them executed.
Yes?
Yeah, Tucker, you have to debate your opponents. You can't just sit there on your own personal show and be an ass to them.
True. I mean, you can. He does it.
He's such a hypocrite.
You can see...
Okay, so before the war, Zelensky would have debated Gonzalo when he said that all these... What does that even... I don't know, whatever.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Coach Red Pill, the number one person that Zelensky should be debating, I guess. That would have been so wonderful. They should debate. Really. Don't you think so, the Daedalus Media? Shouldn't Zelensky debate Coach Red Pill?
I think I should debate Tucker Carlson.
You should debate Zelensky and ask him why he's doing a pointless... Why he provoked Russia to an invasion.
He's just too short a skirt.
True. Provoking. It's fascinating in old cities if you know what to look for, how history is still so present. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
He would debate Gonzalo Lira. Like, actually, Gonzalo, I don't think that we should all be bombed.
True.
Brave, stunning. Yeah, usually during wartime, you can ignore those clowns. But during wartime, if they're spreading misinformation, a lot of democracies, even if you personally disagree with it, are not going to take so kindly to people calling for the country to be bombed while within that country.
Well, what do you know? What a shocker.
What is Zelensky's going to be like, okay, everybody, so this guy... He's gonna pardon him. This is what Zelensky does. He pardons Gonzalo.
To debate him.
People are like, why'd you pardon him? He's like, look, I know this guy called for you guys to be bombed. I know this guy lied about your people being slaughtered. I know this guy tried to pretend he was doing on-the-ground journalism when he was...
But have you considered I'm just gonna debate him? I'm freeing him to have a big televised debate. And in the marketplace of ideas or something.
Daedalus versus Tucker Carlson. Let's go.
True.
Was hiding in his Kharkiv apartment the entirety of the war, messaging about how great Putin was and how Ukraine needs to be cut up and divided. But
divided between whom? Wait, divided. So, what? Poland, or what?
Putin and his alter ego.
Because Russia's propaganda keeps talking about Poland invading Ukraine any moment now. Since day one. And of course, as I've said many, many times before, Putin actually proposed a little thing, dividing up Ukraine in 2014.
Yeah. I think we should divide up Putin. Wait, I didn't say that out loud.
My goodness.
The freedom to call for your neighbors to be murdered. And I don't know, man. It's going to be pretty hard to convince any society in the world to do that.
Many in Washington are looking forward to that moment. And that may be why they so fervently support Joe Biden, even many Republicans, against a potential opponent, the only opponent who opposes the war in Ukraine. If you were to end the war, their power would evaporate.
Is he referring to Trump?
Yes.
Of course.
A whistleblower produced WhatsApp messages from Hunter Biden, proving that at the very least, his father knew about his influence peddling businesses abroad and probably participated in them. Quote, "I'm sitting here with my father," Hunter Biden wrote.
This is really all gonna go.
Why are we going back to Hunter Biden?
Close the door so he doesn't come back in.
Tucker's mouth noises are like the worst combination of arrogant kindergarten teacher and televangelist. Oh God. Like, why are we, like, I gotta ask, why are we back to Hunter Biden when we're talking about Ukraine?
Because Hunter Biden is much more fruitful ground for Tucker Carlson than to admit that he is Putin's hand up his backside.
True.
As a puppet.
God.
Go back to the real reason we're fighting the war in Ukraine is corruption. That's the real reason.
Oh yeah.
That's the reason that nobody will understand. I mean, all of Europe and the Ukrainian people have signed up on a crusade for Hunter Biden's cocaine habit.
True.
In honor of his gigantic schlong.
True.
Partners demanding
Absolutely.
money.
We love it.
Anything reported about the Bidens over the last several years, this was the smoking gun.
Tucker's laugh is wild. He giggles like a medieval lordly. Hunter Biden is the cause of all our problems, obviously.
By the way, I haven't looked into this at all, these WhatsApp messages. Can we look up WhatsApp messages Hunter Biden? Hunter Biden attorney says WhatsApp messages cited by Republicans as fake. Well, that's his attorney. I don't want to listen to his attorney, right? But it's just more of that. His attorney. What's this?
Get it, Dylan. Get it.
Messages that make Biden's the goats of corruption. An opinion. An opinion piece. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great. What did his attorney even say? The attorney for Hunter Biden says purported screenshots of a text message from Hunter Biden to a potential Chinese business partner where he refers to Joe Biden. And wait, so they didn't even talk about Ukraine? They talked about China. This is Chinese. That's a different country. What?
It's the same thing to Tucker.
Subject of intense scrutiny following the statements made by the IRS whistleblower.
China, Ukraine is the same to Tucker Carlson, isn't it?
I don't know anymore. Like this, Republicans are just insane. There's nothing redeeming about them.
True and real.
Are not real and contain a myriad of issues. Ab Laurel, one of Hunter Biden's attorneys, made the statement in a letter to Representative Jason Smith, chairman of the House and Ways and Means Committee, which has interviewed the whistleblowers. And the letter was obtained by NBC News. IRS Supervisory Special Agent Gary Shapley told the committee under oath that as an investigator for the IRS, he obtained messages that Hunter Biden sent on the WhatsApp platform, including one in 2017 that he read demanding payment from a Chinese businessman named Henry Zhao. By the way, why is this even coming up for Ukraine? This is a totally different country. But, okay.
That's what I'm asking.
It always has to be about Hunter Biden, no matter what. It's always Hunter Biden. It's always corruption. It can't be that the Ukrainian people actually want to run their own country. It can't be an issue about sovereignty. It can't even be that
That's my question. Why is it about Hunter Biden all of a sudden? It's so random to me.
I didn't want to say this, guys, but I have WhatsApp messages from Tucker Carlson admitting that he actually is, a horrible person. But you won't see that in the mainstream media.
True, you won't.
Quarter of the Russians. It has to.
I mean, you literally won't see it in the mainstream media. He got fired. So that's definitely true.
Some big corruption scale. There has to be something more. You have to know some hidden truth. There has to be something revealed. There has to be something that can get you clicks on the internet. In the message, Shapley said Biden appeared to suggest that he was sitting with his father, then the former vice president, saying, "I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction." Attorney for Shapley said in a statement, Biden family lawyers have resorted to intimidation before, reportedly threatening federal prosecutors with career suicide if they charge Hunter Biden. So this attempt to intimidate our client and the oversight authorities scrutinizing politicization of this case is no surprise. Laura writes that the screenshots of the messages as tweeted by Smith both include a photo of Mr. Biden not from 2017, but from that White House Easter egg roll in April of 2022, long after the purported message was sent. Both images portray the message in a blue bubble. When WhatsApp messages are in green, one image superimposed the Chinese flag for a contact ID, when surely
I'm just okay.
and one purports to be a screenshot with
I'm not here for this.
someone composing a text as an Apple's iMessage when that does not happen on WhatsApp. Oh, well, that doesn't... Okay, well, I didn't want to listen to her attorney at first, but these are all pretty valid points. Okay, well, otherwise, I don't... It's unconfirmed if it's real. It seems to be the case. Does anybody know in my chat, by the way, if it's confirmed to be real or not?
It seems to be very fake,
I've seen like Twitter threads on it, but
That's okay, but it's unrelated to Ukraine anyway. Isn't it?
Yes.
Jesus.
Ignore them because I've been busy. I've been busy. I will take chat's word over Tucker's word any day of the week.
True. Me too.
I have that little trust of the man that I would even trust gutter chat over
gutter chat. I don't have gutter chat. I only have giggle chat, which is beautiful.
I'm not even going to object to the idea that the Biden family could have been involved in corruption. That's not an insane thing to think.
That's great.
Involved in politics for so long. Corruption is a real thing that many wealthy people participate in. And, you know, it would be something that Hunter Biden should be.
That's okay. It's so unrelated to Ukraine, though, that I can't find it in my heart to.
It's not unreasonable, but the Republicans can't seem to produce any evidence of it. So they make this crazy shit up.
True, but also, like, we're talking about Ukraine, so I just cannot find it in my heart to care about it now for some reason. You know?
Yeah, this is patently ridiculous.
Like, let's just focus on the topic, right?
Hard for if he was involved in doing.
My goodness.
But I don't see how this connects to Ukraine at all.
True. Exactly.
I don't see it at all.
There it is, right there in the message. That would have been enough to cripple a normal president. It would have been more than
cripple a president.
Confirmed WhatsApp message. Okay, sure. Okay.
President from running for office again, but it had virtually no effect on Joe Biden.
Zelensky, the crippled president.
Damn, steely-chinned Joe Biden, invincible. Joe Biden
tried to spin Biden's relationship with his son as some kind of moral victory. Quote, the real meaning of the Hunter Biden saga, as I see it, wrote Nick Kristof of the New York Times, isn't about presidential corruption, but is about how widespread addiction is, and about how a determined parent with unconditional love can sometimes reel a child back. He actually wrote that. And if you doubt it, you should know that view was common. Here's the take from ABC.
The Hunter
maybe
Biden
because
story.
you're full of shit, Carlson.
Why are we concentrating on Hunter Biden?
Sorry.
Why is this man alive? Why won't he just go away? Go away, Tucker Carlson.
Do frozen foods.
Go make bad pot pies again.
What does this have to do
Carlson's
with Ukraine? Is this just going to go back to the Ukrainian?
Yes, sorry.
Tucker Carlson is a stain.
Yeah, that's true.
Like if there was a trolley, if I was in a trolley and there were 50 people on one track and Tucker Carlson on the other track, I'd run Tucker Carlson over and then reverse the trolley to run him over again.
My goodness. My goodness. How can you do this?
It's easy. You just throw the car in reverse.
Prosecutor, is it really going to go all the way back to that?
Yes.
Is this going to be the hook that the real reason we're sending all of this aid over to Ukraine
for Hunter Biden? Yes.
Hunter Biden's image. That's
Yes.
the theory.
Yes.
That's the amount of influence Hunter Biden has.
Yes.
That he doesn't only have sway over the American government, but most of
He has sway over the whole world naturally.
Hunter Biden in his coked out state is apparently capable of influencing Russia, America, Ukraine.
Basically the whole world. Let's not mince words.
Hunter Biden is sitting at the middle of a massive conspiracy web where he controls everything.
Yeah. Hunter Biden is at this point basically the you know, have you ever played Warhammer 40K?
Yes.
Yeah, so basically, Hunter Biden is at this point the God Emperor of mankind.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah. Why does anyone care about Hunter Biden at all? He's irrelevant. Well, apparently not. He's the God Emperor of mankind, and that feels pretty relevant to me.
All right, let's try to get this done. This is painful.
Yes. Okay, let's go. It's almost over.
And Korea, who has sent over 500,000 shells, replenish American stockpiles. Japan, which has also sent a substantial amount of aid, $5 billion at least. They're going to confirm even more aid in the future.
Poland, of course, sent aid. Apparently, 2% of its economy thing. It's sent.
Mr. Biden, how could you?
True.
Actually, I think well over $5 million. I think we're probably closer to 8 or 9 billion. But still, it would have to be such a global plot that Hunter Biden, who, I don't want to be mean, probably not the sharpest tool in the shed, right? I'm not saying he's necessarily super dumb, but I don't understand how he could organize this, Just a very strong international support for Hunter Biden.
The scandal, the this, the that, it's also the story of a father's love. And Joe Biden has never and will never give up on his son Hunter, and will never treat him lesser than. And so he is a father first. Take it or leave it.
So a whistleblower produces a text message showing that Joe Biden was in the room with his son when his son was selling influence to an enemy power, the Chinese.
By the way, if you guys are like, why, if there's anybody who's out there is like, why are you doubting these WhatsApp images? Tucker Carlson has a history of
lying.
Just not even just a history of lying, but he has a habit of lying. So everything he says has to be taken with a gigantic grain of salt and an ask for a source.
That's an interesting way to put it. A habit of lying. Habitual liar.
Tucker Carlson can't help but lie. He is a coward.
That is true. That is definitely true.
Problem is, Tucker Carlson isn't somebody who usually sources his claims or like cites his sources.
Usually? Does that mean that he ever does it?
No, he does not. It's just whatever Tucker Carlson says is real is real.
That's charitable to say that he usually doesn't source his statements. That sort of indicates that he sometimes does. I'm not even sure if that's the case. To Republicans, Trump is the God Emperor and Savior of mankind, and the Dems are blood drinkers, like they meme that almost verbatim. Compulsive lying, perhaps? Yeah. Well, maybe the real God Emperor of the world will just be, like in Warhammer 40k, Hunter Biden and Trump will fuse into one person.
Ugh.
Right?
I just want Tucker Carlson to go away. Go away, Tucker.
He won't go away, I'm afraid. That's wishful thinking, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say.
All right, let's kill this.
Like in his description or anything, or if he's going to talk about something and he's going to be held down on something, he has openly admitted, I think it was on the Bubba the Love Sponge radio show, that he'll just pivot out. If he's ever cornered on anything, he will always pivot or even lie, and he admitted to this. Lie to get out of it. Can we actually, let me see if I can find this. Let's see if I can find this clip. Tucker Carlson, I lie. Yeah, here it is. This is from the, this is only from 2 years ago. I thought it was from the Bubba the Love Sponge thing. Fox News host Tucker Carlson tells interviewer, I lie.
Oh my god.
Host was speaking to Dave Rubin, the YouTube host,
wow.
the conservative author, asked how Carlson felt about CNN host Brian Stelter, Chris Cuomo, and Don Lemon, who Rubin called clown people. Carlson said, I guess I would ask myself, like, I mean, I lie if I'm really cornered or something.
Jesus.
I really try not to. I try never to lie on TV. It'd be one thing if he said, I pivot if I get cornered, because a lot of people pivot. It's another thing to not pivot out of the conversation.
Or just lie.
I'm in choppy water here, so I'm going to get myself out of this convo. I'm going to move it to an area where I'm more comfortable.
Yeah.
It's one thing to do that. It's a totally another thing to be like, yeah, I lie. I really try not to. I try never to lie on TV. Come on, man.
Wow.
I just don't. I don't like lying. I certainly do it, out of weakness or whatever. Anyway.
Weakness. Oh my God. Come on.
Joe Biden is a father first. Take it or leave it. What accounts for a response like that? Well, that's the way you talk when you've got...
Somebody just brought up a good point in chat, though. What if that interview was his one lie? Ever thought about that?
Nothing to fear from the upcoming presidential election. You don't even bother to think of an excuse for your candidate because you don't need to. Your country has electronic voting machines. Joe Biden got 81,282,916 votes in 2020, and you're pretty sure he can do it again. In fact, you know he can. You're not worried. But actually, they should be a little worried.
I am worried. I am worried. A million things could happen between now and election. Now and election day. Imagine, like, if another recession happens, that is something that could deliver Trump into the White House.
Damn, I'm worried. Yeah.
Of a recession. Deeps into the depths of the recession. It gets really bad economically. Yeah, that could something that I think could prop Trump into the White House.
I am worried as well.
I do think that considering Trump's propensity to explode and propensity to commit crimes and then brag about it on audio, I do think that he's not necessarily the best candidate to run against Joe Biden, but he is the most likely candidate that they're going to run against Joe Biden.
Sad.
The people who control Joe Biden, Susan Rice, and the rest know they can continue to run our government, writing the press releases, formulating the policies, and they can do it effectively forever, as long as Joe Biden gets dressed in the morning. And of course, that's their strong preference. These are fervent opponents of change. But the one thing these people cannot control is aging.
Tucker Carlson, agent for change.
Joe Biden is old. He's 80 now. He will be 85 at the end of the next term. People imagine that old age is a long, predictable progression from acuity to permanent unconsciousness.
Okay, I just want to remind everyone, his candidate's Trump. Well, how old is Trump?
I don't know. It's similar age, isn't he?
Trump's age.
Isn't Trump sim?
Wait,
wow.
Joe Biden's 80. That's only a 3-year difference.
Yep.
Donald Trump is...
Why did the...
Donald Trump...
Man.
Sorry?
Donald Trump's gonna die in a heart attack in a golf course bunker.
Oh God, what happened?
And I'm gonna be...
Sorry about that.
I'm gonna be very serious for a moment, because I've heard this...
This was an obvious... Okay.
No,
it didn't reset. Sorry?
We can't do it all again.
No, we don't. We actually don't.
Remind everyone, his candidate's Trump. Well, how old is Trump? How can we actually Google Trump?
77.
Trump's age. 77? Wait, Joe Biden's 80. That's only a 3-year difference. What? What did the... Man, get Barron Trump versus Hunter, man. Let's make that the 2024 election.
Jesus.
But often that's not at all how it actually works. When old people start to slide, they tend to slide fast. Joe Biden has begun that descent.
And Trump didn't?
And here's what she wrote to me, and I quote, "You can imagine my joy. She called them right away, and the next day they sent someone out to survey her yard. As Beth wrote, this is the best thing that's happened to her."
Also, I'm gonna comment on this in a second. Yes, you wanted to say something as well?
He has a speech impediment. Sometimes he's difficulty public speaking. That doesn't mean that he's going insane. This is so blatantly ableist.
Yeah. Basically, but there's one more thing that I want to say, right? There is like my grandfather was an active professor, which is basically in Poland that's the highest rank in academia till 85, and he had zero problems. Marian Turski, the famous Auschwitz survivor.
Yeah.
He's like 97, and he travels, gives speeches. He's perfectly fine. You know?
Yeah, this is.
So this whole, like, if anyone's slipping, it's Trump, to be honest. If we're going that route, you know?
Dude, Trump couldn't walk down a gentle incline towards the end of his presidency. He's toast. He is mentally and physically toast.
Mm. One moment. Okay.
America since the Rural Electrification Act brought electricity to farms in the 30s and 40s. End of quote.
End of quote. You weren't supposed to hear that. Joe Biden read the stage directions out loud.
Wait, is that the best we could get? Is that
That's lame?
Look, there are a lot of embarrassing Joe Biden moments, right? But even I've like slipped up on words like that before. This is the thing, right? I feel like they need to get like 5 or 6 really bad gaffes from Joe Biden. Just stick to them. Because I think sometimes they just try to get so many and like pile them on.
Yeah.
And in an effort to pile
It
on
becomes
as many
weak.
as possible, they take like the weakest ones where
Yeah.
you like reads end of quote or unquote. Also,
Yeah, that's just.
has no one ever heard
whatever.
end of quote before verbally? I've heard that before.
That's
Yeah.
I don't think that's that bad.
It's like whatever. To be quite honest with you,
Yeah, that's pathetic on Chucker's part.
it's like I actually sort of expected for him to show the speech impediment thing. You know, that for him to sort of like speak not clearly. You know.
Yeah, no.
Okay, let's continue.
Show him falling down the stairs again, okay? That runs great with his base.
That's like eating the garnish that comes with your entree. You're supposed to know not to do that. Joe Biden no longer does. In a year or two, he will be gone completely. And
I love how that's all it's one video where Joe Biden says end of quote, and now that's evidence that in a year or two he will no longer have a mind.
True.
Again,
My God.
50%, and once you remember this, you can't unsee it.
My God. He said end quote. Well then, Biden's basically half gone, right?
Yeah. Let's see how old Tucker Carlson is.
How old is?
4 years. The dude looks like he's 70 and he's 54.
Oh, 54. Interesting. What a horrible human being.
50% of Tucker Carlson's show is just pure speculation.
there will be no hiding it. At that point, the Democratic Party will face a secession problem. If Joe Biden is reelected next year and then forced to leave office during his term due to disability or death, that means Kamala Harris will become president of the United States.
Okay.
And nobody wants that, not even her husband. In real life, nobody likes Kamala Harris. That's not an attack on her. In fact, it's possible to feel pity for someone who's so universally reviled. It is instead an observation of unchanging physical reality, like gravity or photosynthesis. Nobody wants Kamala Harris to be president. No one will benefit.
Great humor. Yeah?
He just did a gaffe. He just said photosynthesis. So clearly Tucker Carlson's going to be gone in a year.
True. That's a good observation. That is a good observation, yeah. He's probably gonna be gone soon, yeah. That's true. Unfortunate, but you cannot beat gravity. And for the
Then they're going to have to put Bill O'Reilly in a show, and no one likes Bill O'Reilly because Bill O'Reilly's a black hole from which all joy and happiness gets sucked out of a room.
True. You know what it is what it is. We cannot beat gravity.
If she becomes president. So logic suggests there's going to be a change. It's going to have to be.
Logic suggests.
And whoever that person is going to have to enter the race soon, before the election, after Biden drops out. Who could that person be? We don't know, obviously. This is all just guessing. But we do know whoever that is will have to have two essential criteria.
The Democrats are not going to run with anybody else. It's going to be Joe Biden. It's like a
Logic
foregone
hasn't
conclusion.
entered into this conversation.
When Bernie put his support behind Joe Biden, it was over. There's who else is going to run against Joe Biden? And
True. I'm gonna run as a foreign legionnaire.
Like, they could win in Robert Kennedy Jr. could win in New Hampshire and Iowa, and he'd still lose in South Carolina, and it would go just like the Bernie thing. It would just go just like Bernie. I was in South Carolina campaigning for Bernie. I tried so hard to get that man to be the nominee, and we got crushed.
Damn.
Yeah, because no one likes Bernie Sanders. Christ.
My goodness.
And we had a good operation, South Carolina. Not good enough. We should have tried to at least go to Jim Clyburn's barbecue, right? But we tried, man. They were sending us out like soldiers in vans, just dropping us off in the community. Knock as many doors as possible, man. We got slaughtered. And you want to know what the DNC is doing right now, and they might succeed in doing?
Don't get slaughtered,
They might
Dylan.
make it so South Carolina is the first primary. The first primary in the process. Is that cutthroat? Is that very clearly partisan in favor of Joe Biden? Absolutely. Absolutely it is, man. The Democratic Party is a brutal political machine. But it also means that there's just no way. Even like before, the scenario was, well, maybe they can win in New Hampshire and maybe they can win in Nevada, and then hopefully they could overcome the gigantic lead that Joe Biden has in somewhere like South Carolina. But if South Carolina is the first state, even that path is dead. And that path is already tremendously unlikely. Joe Biden is going to be the nominee for the Democrats unless he literally croaks.
Damn.
He'll have to be as shallow, ruthless, and transactional as Joe Biden is, and he'll need to have flattery skills that are so polished and advanced they'd be considered superior even in the South.
Oh, by the way, I don't think the primary should start in South Carolina. I know the argument was, well, it's more diverse, but also they want to start with South Carolina because Joe Biden horribly underperformed in New Hampshire and horribly underperformed in Nevada, and starting with South Carolina could give the momentum into other states where he performed not as well the last time. I think that's the strategic reasoning. But if we're going to have an order of states, we should not change it to just help the incumbent. We should not just change the process to help the person that the Democrats kind of just want to win anyway. I don't think that's...
Sorry?
That's not really what's happening here. People have wanted to get rid of Iowa and New Hampshire's first for quite some time because they're idiotic primaries and caucuses. Like it's a waste of energy. And
Sadly, I cannot speak much to that.
a lot of energy is basically spent on 6 Cornhuskers in a field getting to pick a president because you spoke kindly to them in a diner. It's a ridiculous process, and getting rid of it for an actual primary where you do electioneering is smart, not stupid. And it has nothing to do with favoring Joe Biden. It has everything to do with the fact that they're trying to make a competitive Democratic Party again.
I think that degrades the integrity of the party. I think it's still a bad move. And that's not to say that Iowa should necessarily be the first state. It's just that I believe the intention in changing the state to South Carolina is biased in favor of Joe Biden, and I disagree with that.
Real court. And there's only one man in modern America who fits that description. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, and perhaps not coincidentally, Joe Biden's new closest friend. I am here, Mr. President, Newsom told Biden at an event the two did together last week.
I don't know why we're talking about Gavin Newsom now.
True.
Ukraine so quickly. It was just like, Zelensky loves war because dictator, and that was it. And then he whined about Gonzalo Lira getting arrested. I don't know why we're on to Gavin Newsom. There's only a minute here left. I guess he just wanted to touch on everything. He just wanted to hit the greatest hits. It's like AC/DC coming out. Like, they might have a new song or two, but everyone wants to hear them, you know, sing, like, Thunderstruck. Like, everybody wants to. Maybe that's what Tucker's doing.
Definitely.
But the thing is about Gavin Newsom is I don't like Gavin Newsom that much. He's much too, I guess, I don't know what word to use besides, like, neoliberally for my takes. Like, he's better than other people in the party, of course, but he wouldn't be my first pick. But I will say, when I talk to Republicans, especially Republicans that I know that work in Republican political PACs, they are They are freaking terrified of Gavin because they see how Gavin Newsom operates in Fox News interviews. They see how he is aggressive. They see how sharp he is in these interviews. They see how he's buying campaign ads in places like Florida to talk about the economic growth of California and to try to hit them in their own home turf. And that unsettles them. If I was a Republican, the last person I would want to run against, if we're talking about a list of Pete Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and Gavin Newsom, the top of that list I wouldn't want to run against is Gavin Newsom. Because the only thing I really think Republicans would amount to going to attacking Gavin on would be California. They would try to like California's lawless. But besides that,
okay,
dude's a campaign machine. He was made for the campaign trail. And I'm saying that as somebody who doesn't even really like Newsom.
I'm here as a proud American, as a proud Californian, mesmerized by not just your faith and your devotion to this country and the world we're trying to build, but by your results, by your action, by your passion, by your capacity to deliver. I am mesmerized.
Didn't Gavin have to survive a recall?
How he sounds like a maniac.
He crushed the recall. It wasn't even close.
By you, Joe Biden? Imagine saying that as a compliment. You couldn't do it. Few human beings could do it. But Gavin Newsom had no problem at all. Those words rolled right off his forked tongue. He never stopped smiling. So if you're looking for the leader of the coup,
okay,
there he is.
Coup.
Okay, so Ukraine isn't a real democracy.
What coup?
Of their constitution
What?
signed during martial law. You suspend elections until martial law is ended. Ukraine, the real reason we're giving aid to Ukraine is because of Hunter Biden, and Gavin Newsom's going to coup the party. Fantastic.
Jesus.
As incomprehensible as always. What am I even supposed to say to that? Like, what am I even supposed to say to, like, half of that shit? What?
Okay. If you've enjoyed this, then subscribe, like, hit the bell, subscribe to me, subscribe to the Two Guys Talk History channel, all that good stuff. Isn't that right?
Yes, everyone subscribe. Everyone click like. There's only 15 likes. More likes.
It's true. There's 15. I only see 14. So that's more than I see on your, you know.
I've refreshed more recently.
All right. So now it's time for the real deal. It's time I'm just gonna stay here. I'm gonna stand here in the corner. I'm gonna bam.
Reorganizing everything.
We are basically making you the center stage of the whole thing. Bam.
Cluster bombs.
This is the layout now. Nobody can stop us anymore. So I've read the basics about the cluster bombs, but now you, as the expert, can take it away and explain the whole situation to us as the military history expert.
So, this past week, you might have noticed, if you logged onto Twitter and regretted your life ever since, that a bit of a kerfluffle has been happening over the concept of cluster bombs, cluster munitions. What Joe Biden has finally done is he has approved giving anti-personnel cluster munitions to Ukraine. And immediately everyone turned around and said cluster bombs or cluster munitions are illegal. They aren't.
Okay.
Particularly for Ukraine, for Russia, and for the United States. And then they said cluster bombs kill civilians, which they don't unless you aim them.
So let's start at the basics. Let's explain what those are, and let's move from there.
So a cluster munition is either a bomb or an artillery shell that is launched up into the air. And when it's in the air, it separates and it releases anywhere between 2 or 2,000 different little sub-munitions, little bomblets, to do various jobs. Some of them, for example, are designed to destroy lots of tanks. Some of them are designed to target enemy personnel. And then you have things that are like designed to set fires. So they run the gamut. Different cluster bombs do different things.
Yes.
And the idea is that you can use fewer weapons to cause. Yes, I am awfully tuckered out. Thank you, Dropcar. You use fewer weapons to cause significantly more, a larger area of effect.
Yes.
So, these are not inherently bad weapons. What the concern is, the actual legitimate concern, is that you have this munition which fires off a whole bunch of bombs into an area. No, 2-bit dork, kind of. It fires off a whole bunch of bombs into an area, and some of them might not explode right away. So they just sort of sit there.
There's this fail percentage, right?
Yes, there's an official failure rate from the Department of Defense for these munitions of 2 to 3% of the total number of munitions released per round. However, the actual count, because these are older weapons, might be higher.
I've heard estimates to up to 14%.
Maybe.
Which is still better than Russia, by the way. Just so we're clear.
Yes, dramatically. The people who are quoting that number are dubious. At any rate, the problem that people are citing, that cluster munitions can kill civilians, I mean, is true, but anything I shoot at civilians has a very good chance of killing them.
True, but what civilians are Ukrainian forces gonna shoot at? The Russian civilians at the Ukrainian battlefront?
Yeah, there's first of all, like, I have a map for tomorrow of Russia's defensive lines, and they've basically evacuated civilians from that area.
Right.
So there aren't civilians to shoot at. The second problem is that the other problem is, like, after you use these weapons, you have to clean up the unexploded ordnance, which is a problem, but it's not a significantly more substantial problem than Ukraine is going to face anyway. Yeah. Because Russia has thrown up, and Ukraine as well, they've thrown up hundreds of mines all over the area that they've been fighting in.
Ukraine's mined.
Stop the advance. Ukrainians have mined things to stop the Russians, and the Russians have been dropping mines everywhere to stop Ukraine.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to deal with that anyway. Ukraine is going to spend the next 2 decades cleaning up unexploded ordnance.
Yeah, like the estimate is like, and it was some time ago, it was like 100 years or something.
That's probably a little much, but yeah, it's a lot.
Well,
minefields are a very famous problem in a lot of war zones, all over Africa, all over Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
A lot of problem with mines.
Like, I'm not even sure if that's much. Like, how much time has passed since the Vietnam War?
It's been since the 70s, so 50 years.
Yeah, and Vietnam is still not even close to being demined.
Yes, and they used a lot of mines in Vietnam.
Yeah, so like, looking at that, I'm not even sure if the 100 years estimate is all that off.
But like the basic idea behind a cluster munition is it's one of those things that people talk about without really understanding. There have been a whole lot of weapons. Like Russia uses cluster munitions in both Ukraine and Syria. They use thermobaric weapons, which are similarly deadly to people caught in the blast radius.
Yeah.
All kinds of weapons are being employed that aren't necessarily special. So, like, this outrage of the United States equipping Ukraine with cluster munitions is selective.
Basically concern trolling.
Yes.
Like from Russian shells.
And to answer your question, 2-bit dork, the bomb from the beginning of the first Iron Man movie sort of is the same idea, except what it is a bunch of missiles instead of bomblets. So it fires off the missile, and then other missiles hit it. That's kind of the design of modern nuclear weapons more than anything else. Or they're multiple re-entry vehicles. But cluster munition is a much more contained area.
Yeah.
So in regards to whether or not they're illegal, back in 2009 or so, a large number of nations entered into a international treaty
Resolution
stating that they would no longer use cluster munitions.
because of the civilian.
Ukraine did
risk.
not sign this, the United States did not sign this, and Russia did not sign this.
Right. I mean, it ended up being pretty wise for Ukraine not to do it, having Russia as neighbor.
The criticism that's being levied, Greater Orient, is that cluster munitions are somehow uniquely capable of killing civilians, which simply isn't true.
Right. Yeah.
Weapons where you point them matters. And if that was the case, they'd be complaining about Russian cruise missiles too, but they're not.
Yeah. Although I'm not sure. Has Russia been using things like gas as a weapon in this war?
They have not in Ukraine. They have used it in. They have used it in Syria.
Because gas is basically, ever since like World War I, considered this banned weapon, right? In warfare.
It is, and it's also hard to use properly. Like the first gas attack that Germany ever undertook, the gas floated back across their lines.
Yeah.
It's so like it's become a standoff weapon. They put it in missiles or they put it in bombs and use planes or cruise missiles. Well, here's the why not. It's if not one mini bomb bearing missile, then wouldn't they just drop lots of single bombs? Well, that's what the shell does. But the other thing to keep in mind is when you use an artillery gun, for example, it has wear and tear, and you have to maintain it. So you can only fire so many shells through the thing.
Yeah.
If you fire a cluster munition through an artillery piece, what happens is you get a lot more effect for less wear and tear.
Yeah.
It is an economical way of employing artillery.
Yeah, basically, you get more bang for your buck.
Now, the discussion around it is whether or not it'll be effective. That's going to be a mixed bag because what you have is a lot of Russian troops hiding in trenches.
Mm.
And the point of a trench is that it's very hard to hit.
Right.
You basically have to target it specifically and get a direct hit on it. The thing about the trench is that what you would do is end up firing a couple of these shells over a Russian trench position, and maybe like a tenth of those bomblets get in the trench.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're lucky. So what it's really going to probably do, is it's going to disrupt Russian fortifications. It's going to disrupt minefields, that sort of thing, which is going to be immensely helpful for Ukraine.
Yeah, of course. When will Ukraine be receiving has it already received them?
If he made the announcement this past week, it'll probably be a couple months.
Oh.
At least 2 months. Like the turnaround time has been pretty.
Should be faster. It should be announcement. A couple of days later, they should have it, to be honest.
They're shipping them via a cargo ship, though, and that's the problem. Like most of the stuff is being shipped via cargo ship.
Shouldn't be like a cargo plane.
It's much more expensive to send a plane, and it's a lot more wear and tear on the planes themselves. Like, it was like maybe 3 or 4 months back, Canada sent some of its Leopard tanks over in a Starlifter, and both me and Commander McMillan from the End Time show thought that was a little unique, like a bit of a publicity stunt, because that's really hard on the Starlifter. A C-17 Starlifter is basically the biggest transport plane in America and Canada and most European countries' inventory.
It is, but I mean, 3 months is too slow. It's just too
That's
slow.
kind of been a fairly significant problem throughout the war. Is by the time we get around to giving the weapons, it's too late, and by the time the weapons get employed, they've already been a couple months too late.
Yeah.
And so you have to basically play catch up. That's I think a very legitimate criticism.
Damn. Just okay. So what else can we like? What are the what other pluses, minuses?
I think the biggest plus is going to be on letting Ukraine get saturation and artillery fire without expending a whole bunch of ammunition.
Right.
The minus is the cleanup, but the cleanup is just being added onto an already huge problem.
Right. The demining and other things. Also
Demining, and you like think about this too. Like you fire a regular artillery shell, and some of them don't explode when they hit.
Yeah.
So those have to be taken care of too. And like the cleaning up after a war is really hard.
Yeah, it is.
This isn't going to make it necessarily any harder than it already was going to be.
So it seems like a bunch of posturing and just concern trolling by Russia shells then.
Not even necessarily Russia shows. Just people who aren't like good on these types of things. Like Cornel West came out against it, and Cornel West should never open his mouth about foreign relations. He has a wheelhouse, and every time he leaves it, he just messes up. And it's like people like that, like those kinds of people, like I was saying earlier when the Tucker Carlson segment was still on, the kinds of people who get upset but don't necessarily understand
why
foreign relations and military issues.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they just got outraged and didn't think about it too closely.
Oh? I've gotten the impression there is a massive gap between both countries' technology. Russia using obsolete and poorly maintained equipment, and Ukraine using more modern equipment from allies. So to my mind, Russia shouldn't have a good chance at victory, yet here we are. They still fight. Is it because Russia has more people, or?
So that's a good observation. There is a technological gap. Why Russia is still in the war is that even after you've lost a war, you don't necessarily know that the war is lost. For example, Germany was done. They couldn't win the war by 1944, but they lasted throughout half of 1945. Like the degree to which you can still do a lot of damage even after you've lost. So, like, there's kind of a lot going. Like Russia seems to be very confused right now, collectively. Like they're having a hard time in the wake of this old Wagner thing.
Yeah.
And they do have a lot of people, but they don't have that many people because you got to remember that Russia is a country that has a mandatory day of sex so that they can try to increase their population, which hasn't worked. So,
Jesus Christ. But there's also like the sort of, it's been talked about by some experts some time ago that as the war drags on, the technological gap becomes, ironically enough, a minus in a way.
Sort of.
Because, Russia just keeps throwing cheap stuff at Ukraine, and Ukraine has to respond with the expensive equipment that it gets. And it gets increasingly expensive as it drags on.
Yeah, Russia has technology that they have built that should be good, but they can't afford to build enough of it to use. So they're stuck using old stuff.
Well, I for one am hoping that my hope would be that Ukraine would be like receive much more, much quicker, and then just be able to end it. But it doesn't seem to be that way. I was hoping, yeah,
Or we all get off our collective asses, send our army over there, win the war, and be done with it.
true. And also I had hopes when it came to the Wagner thing, but that whole thing ended up being a massive disappointment, to be quite honest.
Yes, it was something else. It's been something else.
Like, I was kind of hoping that Russia would be just tied up in an internal conflict for at least a while, and then like Ukraine could slowly sort of march and, clean up. That was my big hope, but I guess we cannot have nice things.
Do you think Putin would realistically retaliate with nuclear bombs? No, because I'm absolutely sure that the United States has told Putin that if he uses chemical weapons or nukes, they will get involved, and then he will lose.
Yeah. I vote we send more love to Ukraine and more arms too. Same. And there was the
More weapons before love, because they can't do much with the love until they got weapons.
I mean, the arms I would count as love.
Yes.
But we also had the whole thing with the nuclear power plant.
Yeah, they're probably sitting on that one for a little while.
Like, I've read a lot of, I think you've shared this. I've read a lot of experts from Poland, like an expert when it comes to power, one general, and they're basically saying that it's an attempt of Russia to redirect forces from the front to recapturing the power plant to slow down the counteroffensive.
Very likely, actually. Yeah, Putin's mind state isn't really necessarily relevant, because Putin is an oligarch and he has to function inside a system of other oligarchs. So their collective mind state is very important, and they seem to be a little divided at the moment. Like, there are some oligarchs who are only in it because Putin makes some money, and when that stops being the case, which is going to be very soon, he's going to have a much harder time because the ruble is about to crash.
Yeah. So what do you think about the whole counteroffensive slowing strategy of the nuclear power plant?
I don't necessarily think it's going to work.
Yeah, I'm not saying about I'm not talking about necessarily the effectiveness of the plan, but do you think that it's actually a thing that Russia is trying to do?
It's absolutely what they're trying to do. They released information that they cited where a whole bunch of Ukrainian troops are waiting in the Zaporizhia area to start an offensive when there's a breakthrough.
Right.
So that's absolutely what they're trying to do. They're trying to threaten them to keep them from attacking. I just don't think it's going to work because, as far as Ukraine is concerned, Russia holding on to Ukraine is unacceptable.
Yeah. And especially Zaporozhye, right?
Yes, Zaporozhye is very critical for Russia because if Ukraine can divide that in half, Russia's in some serious trouble.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm trying to say is that it's pretty ridiculous for Russia to be holding Zaporozhye at all, for obvious reasons.
Yes, but it's also critical for them because they have to hold on to that rail line. Because
Yeah.
they only have two supply lines that run into the length and breadth of their occupied territory. One is over the bridge. The other is halfway between the front line and the Black Sea. If Ukraine takes that supply line, then they're also in position to destroy the bridge, and then Russia's in a lot of trouble.
Well, it's maybe they should have fought before creating a vital base in the land of the Cossacks.
Yeah, maybe they should have not invaded.
Not invaded. True. My goodness. I would be afraid of what could replace Putin, I guess. Like it's a systemic problem in Russia. It would be naive to think that it would end with Putin being dethroned.
Yes. We'll have to see what happens. That I don't know yet.
Well, none of us do, but we've seen a lot of historical precedent of evil tyrants in Russia being sort of dethroned and other people taking their place.
And then the next guy is just worse.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the next guy right after Stalin was not necessarily worse than Stalin, but
No, Khrushchev was slightly better.
yeah. But Stalin was a pretty extreme case, also, to be fair.
Yes. A very extreme case.
A very purge-happy individual. Basically purge all of the higher-ups in the army before being invaded during World War II.
Yes.
Which is why the military was so hopeless at the start. They had to, like, promote people. It was crazy. Stalin sucked and was a doo-doo face.
He was. He absolutely was a doo-doo face.